2, 1. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the Traders Podcast, episode, I think it's actually 44. I didn't edit the title yet. We're trying to make it easy for ourselves. We copy paste, so we can just keep rocking and rolling. But anywho, we've got Max Meyer and Andrew Mo Money, Mo Monkey, Mo Mafia chilling right here. And the Neandernauts, we're going to be covering the AMC earnings call. We're going to be breaking that sucker down for you. Man, I'm so excited to have you guys on. Welcome to the channel again, you guys.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So hyped, so absolutely hyped. Let's get this bread, you guys. Come on,
dude. Too easy. This is 3. We need one more mafia guy to make up that quadruple witching gang. You know what I'm saying? The Meme-ageddon or whatever it be. Just gold.
Well, we were saying it might turn into a quintuple witching because stimulus checks are going to start being sent out that day too.
Oh, on that exact day, the 19th.
I mean, as an estimate, yeah, it'll be right around.
Dude, massive. You heard it from Max. Max is the guy. He's one of the most intelligent dudes I've ever met in my life. Probably the most intelligent. Right behind Professor Meatball, but
no one can beat the meat.
That's right. Rock on, guys. So, do you want to just get started? Should we just get into it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Dive in.
Yeah, so what we're going to do, guys, is we're just going to play back that earnings call for you, and then we're going to stop and have conversations, just talk about the breakdown here, and you guys can keep track of everything that's going on. So whenever you're ready, Andrew, let's let that thing rip.
Let's get it on here. Let's go.
Let's see. It's 2.
All right,
Alex, good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everyone to AMC's fourth quarter and year-end 2020 earnings webcast. With me this afternoon is Adam Aaron, our President and Chief Executive Officer, and Sean Goodman, our Chief Financial Officer. Before I turn the call over to Adam, let me remind everyone that some of the comments made by management during this conference call may contain forward-looking statements that are based on management's current expectations. Numerous risks, uncertainties, and other factors may cause actual results.
And there was a little bit of a glitch here. 1 second. Unmute, and let's see.
Whether as a result of new information
there we go.
Or future events. On this call, we may reference measures such as adjusted EBITDA, free cash flow, adjusted free cash flow, and constant currency, among others, which are non-GAAP financial measures. For a full reconciliation of our non-GAAP measures to GAAP results, please see our earnings release posted in the investor relations section of our website earlier today. After our prepared remarks, there will be a Q&A session. This afternoon's call is being recorded, and a webcast replay will be available in the investor relations section of our website at amctheaters.com later today. With that, I'll turn the call over to Adam.
Thank you, John. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Let me begin this afternoon's call the same way I've begun all of our 2020 earnings calls, by expressing my wishes that you and your families are all in good health. And I will add to that on this call, and that vaccination comes soon for you as well. You all know that 2020 was a year unlike anything that we've ever seen. COVID-19 has dramatically, and in some cases tragically, affected all of us to an extent we never could have or would have imagined.
All right, so that was Adam Aaron, the CEO of AMC. We hear some, I don't see the live chat right now, so I'm going to pull it up to make sure that I'm also up to date with what people are saying, but I'm going to scrub forward to find the Q&A. I'm going to let the other big boys talk while I do so.
I can give kind of a brief summary too.
That's great.
Because I took notes the first time around anyways. So the CEO, he talked about the survival of AMC and cited several reasons as to the survival of it. First reason is they raised tons of cash, and feel free to comment on any of this, Trey, as I go through. Raised tons of cash. They have $2.2 billion in debt and equity capital. Number 2 is the increased safety protocols, and he said that they can't find a single linked case of COVID to an AMC, someone who was at AMC and watched a movie in the last year. New York City and San Francisco are open, and they're 90% open right now. And they just saw their best weekend results since March of 2020, which was exciting. And 1/3 of their revenue is from the areas of California, New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. and California is set to open very soon. So a large portion of their highest revenue areas will be completely open very soon. And they talked about cars in the showroom, which we're not really sure what exactly that meant, and how new car sales helps AMC. So we might have to dig into that a little bit. Are you aware of anything about that, Trey?
I have never heard of that. That makes no sense at all. Cars in the sale room. What? Is that like is that like lingo for something?
So I don't think so. He made it sound like somehow AMC is linked to new car sales. I don't know if that's like they park a new model in some showrooms and somehow that leads to revenue for them. I'm not sure how exactly that works. Maybe someone here in the chat knows something about that. Revenue is up on a quarter-to-quarter basis. They've done a lot of private theater rentals, like 110,000 or something like that. I mean, that was the majority of it. That's pretty much summarizes the whole intro from the CFO and CEO.
Guys, I don't mean to break up this chat real quick. We're just going to invite one more guy in here. We've got Matt Coors chilling in the waiting room. So welcome in, Matt. Upon a popular request, we finally made this happen, dude. I apologize that this took so long.
The horsemen are here. We made it happen.
I cannot believe it.
Yeah,
What's
it's
going on,
crazy.
everyone? What's going on? Sorry, guys, my stream's known about it all day. They are deciding to fix some natural gas leaking outside. So if it's too bad, I could definitely drop for the good of the cause. But I just wanted to show my support for the 4 Mafia members.
Dude, the 4 horsemen, the quadruple witching. That's what we are right here, man. Too good.
That's right.
People in the chat saying, Matt, or I'm selling. So it seems like you brought over some good folks here, man. That's what we love to see.
The Space Apes are an uncontrollable group. They're crazy.
Absolutely, man. Rock on. Well, we were just discussing the earnings call. Didn't mean to interrupt there, Max. I just wanted to get him in here while we're still early on in the stream, so we can all have a conversation about it.
No, that was basically summarized. The CEO, CFO. They're, the beginning of earnings calls are a lot of times are basically an advertisement for the company. So you didn't miss a whole lot by not hearing that part.
I'm just going to throw Matt's handle up here so that everybody can get access to his account if they want it. So you guys go ahead and keep talking. I'll hop in a sec.
Did you listen to the earnings call, Matt?
Yeah, so I took some pretty interesting notes on it just to kind of give a rundown. This is actually what I was going to talk to my chat about this morning. But one thing I found was nuts that I had no idea was that 1/3 of the revenue comes from New York, New Jersey, California, Connecticut. And I don't know about Connecticut, but I believe California, specifically LA, New York, and New Jersey are all opening. New York opened the 5th, at 25% capacity. I found that was nuts. I didn't know that so much revenue came from 4 individual states.
Mm-hmm.
Which is actually a pretty good thing, too, because if I remember correctly, New York just recently reopened AMC theaters to a limited capacity, didn't they? Which is going to really start kicking up that revenue.
Yes.
Yeah, freaking huge, man. I'm pumped. And I think the good thing about this earnings call, too, in regards to the content of it, is it can only be positive. It can't really be negative, right? So most people, when they invest in AMC, they're not thinking about, oh, man, these guys are going to have great earnings for Q4. They're just going nuts. They're like, yeah, we understand that this is a COVID quarantine play. And if they've got a good earnings report, yeah, we know it could push the price. But if it don't, maybe stay flat, neutral. Maybe it's slightly red. It's not going to be one of those groundbreaking things that absolutely destroys the stock, as we saw in the price action here tonight.
Right. I agree. That's basically what I was saying too. I didn't think a bad earnings call would do much, and a good earnings call, I guess, is just going to help.
Exactly, man. Spot on.
It's up 7% after hours right now.
Dude, it was crazy. I was chilling at work and I was just bummed because I was looking at the stock. I was like, man, this thing just got shorted to Kingdom Come by these stupid freaking hedgies trying to sell our attendees and stuff. And then the after hours came and it was like an immediate lift off, 15 minutes. You can almost see exactly when earnings started. It's crazy.
The millions of dollars, I was trying to calculate it. I didn't get the calculations done. The millions of dollars it took to drop it from 12.20 to 9.51 in the matter of, 15, 25 minutes. The same thing. Well, that's what blew my mind because the calculation is more complex than just dropping it because they also did it with GME from 350 to 172.
Dude, that was horrendous.
Millions of dollars that had to flow through the system in a span of a half hour. It's just crazy.
Did you see how many times GameStop got halted on the way down? It had to have been 4. I was at work, but I saw a couple of them.
Yeah, I think it was 4 on the way down and then maybe 2 on the way back up, or it was 6 in total. Like it was just like we had volatility both in both ways. And a quick point of clarification for everyone, like there's many reasons to have an issue with Robinhood, Webull, blah, blah, blah. But these volatility halts, that is from the SEC, just so everyone knows. It is not from an individual broker. They don't get to decide that, just so everyone knows that out there. Totally the SEC, which I believe Andrew and Max, I was listening to you guys talk to about it. I agree with Max. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. The premise of these halts are to allow people to calm down, but it's weird because now so many people have alerts set up for halted stocks. And so right away they're like, oh, I didn't even know this stock was moving today. Let's hop into it right after the halt. So sometimes it inadvertently actually brings up the volatility, and like GameStop today, the amount of people not paying attention to it, and then 5 more halts. Like, come on.
Right.
I've never even thought of that, but that's spot on the money, man. I mean, if you wanted, how would you even set that up? Can you do that through Webull? Like, just look for specific stocks that are halting, and then you know that they're volatile, right? Because I think halts happen when they drop 5% or 10% within 5 minutes or something.
Yeah, I don't know if it's right on Webull, but on my TD Ameritrade Thinkorswim, it's just an option, just halt
really?
And stop. You just click it. You don't even have to do anything fancy. But on Thinkorswim, so I don't use them much, but I use them for halt catches. It's just I don't know, it's crazy.
So how would you typically do a play with a halt catch?
I think it's more of people interested in it because obviously, you can have halt clear. Ooh, I think they just stopped the natural gas stuff outside. Awesome. Hey, on the up and up, we're going. Anyway, so it's more of I think the interest of halts going down or up. The most popular, back to my Wild West days of trading penny stocks, it was looking for halts upward. It was just, that's the interest. You're looking for abnormal volatility and halts in penny stocks. And then people are just hopping onto that. So it's almost a positive dog pile almost is
right.
The most common one. But I mean, days like today, I'm sure at a certain point, if retail traders like us know about the halts, obviously the hedge funds do too. So they might be piling on with just bigger money in one way or the other, I would assume.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah, especially I guess if there's a real quick upward spike and a halt, that could be the potential to ride a wave for a couple hours or something like that.
So I noticed something that keeps popping up in the chat. I think this would be an interesting topic to talk about. Coming from Slay Rider, he says, AMC CEO, 287 million shares issued to the public market, 450 million shares in public float. Let's talk about that, guys. I think that pretty much nails right on the head what we've been talking about all 4 of our channels for quite some time. I think it's an interesting topic.
So,
Who wants to start? Who wants to start?
So when he said that, we were listening on Andrew's channel, and I actually I don't know what happened. I cut out for a minute, so I literally missed the most important part.
Oh man!
But I didn't really catch. Maybe one of you guys caught why exactly they're saying now the float is higher, or what was the result of that?
Yeah, man, I can give you my hypothesis. So I did a really in-depth analysis and some research on FTDs and failure to delivers. And it's a really interesting topic that I think there's a lot of confusion on. And to dumb it down in simple ape language that every ape out there in Gorilla can understand, it's just basically, so you've got a clearinghouse and they are giving shares out to the public, whether it's through options, right? Because you can infinitely write up options contracts. And I think primarily through options, you're getting these synthetic shares or IOUs that are giving out because they don't actually have the supply to keep up with the options that are coming in. So they're basically hedging shares that don't exist by writing them up and saying, hey, we're going to get back to these later. We know they've got 21 trading days, which is a month to be able to get these back. And I think that's where the majority of these are coming from. That's my hypothesis, right? And nobody can know for sure, but that's one theory.
Now, the thing about this, go ahead, Matt.
Well, I was thinking, I wanted to connect that to actually what you were talking about yours with the DTC, the new rules. So how that stop the, I guess let's call it quote unquote, recycling. Because I get what they're doing of okay, we'll give these back, but now we just have a new position. So their net position doesn't change at all. And then that's why we get into situations where more than 100% of stock is shorted. Because you're just recycling it, loaning it out almost to yourself or to someone in the back to you. So I get how the percentage goes up, but then coming back to you, Andrew, with the new DTCC rule, how is that going to stop the recycling aspect when they can do a liquidity check midday?
So let's give it to Professor Meatball to answer this question. No? Okay, I'll answer this question. So for DTCC, what we're looking at is not a regulatory body. It's just a body that is would be holding the bag, not in the sense of us holding bags when we buy high and the stock goes lower, but they would end up having all of the risk when the hedgies end up not being able to pay. So now with the new regulation that has been proposed, they want to be able to say, hey, you wanted a 21-day extension on your homework. That's too bad. We can give a rain check on your homework any day. And we can come into your house and say, within 1 hour, you have to pay us the difference and interest that you owe us, and you don't have the time to be able to manipulate the market like you did earlier today. Exactly how we saw a lot of volume, a lot of millions of dollars of money, but then hurting everybody on my chat. We're talking about how many people had like 50,000 or above terms of unrealized gains from GameStop. You just wiped out billions of dollars of unrealized gains from people's portfolios with just a little bit of leverage. These kinds of tricky plays are no longer going to be able to be a tool that hedge funds use after this DTCC regulation, which is essentially saying that we had a extension period that normally existed for you. That extension period could, at any time, any day, have within 1 hour a demand that you pay up now. So essentially, this wipes out one of the options for them in terms of naked shorting. Now, that said, recursive shorting is not quite naked, right? You could borrow it from somebody and then sell it to someone else and then borrow it immediately back. That's still a share that is accounted for. It just belongs to multiple people. So that's slightly different than fully naked shorting.
So this doesn't really answer the question, though. How do we go from 287 million shares to 450 million shares without much of an explanation?
I think it could be a combination of what you guys were just talking about and these IOUs being written up. So you could have these recursive shares and these naked shares, whether it's both short and long. I think it's kind of happening both ways. So, the amount of shares that they have, whatever it is, they still have to lend those out and give them out, right? The clearinghouses. So if they don't have them on hand, they have to create something to fuel these institutional buyers. Because, truth be told, if there's any IOUs that are being held by retail investors or any fake shares that shouldn't exist in the shares that were pushed out, right? They're not going to know about it. We don't know about it. It's not like we're intentionally doing that. It's on the back end where you've got these the clearinghouses that are doing stuff wrong that they know they shouldn't be doing, or the hedge funds. Like I think they both kind of tie in hand. That's a recurring shares thing is an interesting theory. I haven't heard about that before. I think that could definitely be legit.
So I guess I'm still on that same page of Max, of like kind of confusion of like they're almost being created out of the ether. And I guess my mind's now more of like, how do you unwind it? Because it's obviously not the new level. Like at a certain point, it has to come back to like the expected free float. So something's going on. But also, I think with Andrew, right, the DTCC, they're not the ones lending. That's just more of the clearing corp is going to be the one connecting it of like, okay, yeah, we had a buyer, we had a seller. They're going to be doing it. All of the recycling would be done by the market makers almost, or the hedges lending it out to whoever has theoretically the ownership to the share, right?
Right, and we talked about this briefly. I think when I was able to jump on your show and talk about these naked shorts, is essentially making it easy for asynchronous transactions to occur. Right, you could try and go borrow an actual share in order to sell, but if you want to sell right now and Mummy won't give you a share to be able to borrow, you could just sell it right now and find a share to borrow later. So that it makes it a lot harder to do that with the current institutional demands of being able to do it within 21 days. Now you might have to account for those missing shares immediately. That you're 100% right, though. That does not explain exactly why there are so many shares now outstanding.
Yeah. So I mean, does a synthetic long wouldn't actually create an outstanding share according to the CEO, though? It's just kind of this share that is as a part of the marketplace. It wouldn't be like, it's not like those extra millions of shares are on the company's 10K now.
Or at least they shouldn't be, right? Because they're not accounted for shares. You're 100% right. That's not those synthetic longs that shouldn't exist in the market. They're not accounted for, right? So that is a great question now, because if they can't account for it, it shouldn't be able to show up in the amount of shares that are currently out in the market when they did that count. There's so much confusion. This is such a crazy situation, both AMC and GameStop. I'd be interested to know what that would look like for GameStop as well. It'd have to be a similar situation.
I mean, I would assume so, just from when it all started in January, that whole thing, that like when Wall Street Bets was going nuts, it was like what 240% of a short. So like at that point, like how are that many outstanding shares shorted when like, and I think that was the big thing, really the ethos of the Wall Street Bets community of like, how could you possibly short 2.5 times something that's not there? And I get it. Like it was explained a little bit of like, oh, I loan it out because I don't want the short, but it runs it up. But like, I still think it's like so much of the stock market plumbing is a mystery, makes no sense. And like, it seems like no one's going out of their way to explain it to the general public.
That you're totally right on the money, man. Matt, it's crazy. And I think the big thing that's come from this AMC GameStop situation is how little control we actually as retail investors thought we had, like how much it's manipulated beyond our capacities. And honestly, I think there should be more disclosure and information available to retail investors because the game's set up where you almost can't win. You know, I mean, as the entire, AMC Guerrilla Gang, Space Apes, the Neanderthals, the Mo Monkeys, right? All of us coming together on Reddit, on Discord, YouTube. It takes all of this to like stand a chance against this crazy stuff. And like there's I really, really hope that one of the changes that comes out of this is you have more regulation for one and more help for retail investors for two, because it's the transferring of wealth is just so impossible when we're not set up to win. Like nobody knows it's actually happening. We can take, estimated guesses, educated guesses, but I mean, from that, everyone's looking at the same things. It's just what's available to the public.
That's true. How do we rally all of our troops? That's the real question. We're a bunch of smooth-brained apes.
Dude, I love smooth-brained. That just makes me laugh. I saw that on Reddit once. Some guy said, Trey's just a smooth brain. I was like, I'll take that as a compliment all day long. You already know what it is. Gold.
Well, while we're rallying all these people together, I think we have a couple of bets that we have to get out into the open. Max made it when he came on over to my channel. Max, what are you going to do tomorrow if a certain thing happens?
So we were saying if Andrew hits 45,000 subscribers, I'm going to buy $1,000 worth of AMC. Also, if I hit 190,000, I'm going to buy another $1,000 worth of AMC. But I know these guys here were talking about some other bets that they wanted to do. So
yeah, man.
So there's $1,000 worth of AMC right there accounted for. If we get to 50,000 on my channel, I'm going to buy another $1,000 of GME. So that's GME and AMC accounted for.
We get Andrew to 45K. We get Max to 180K. We get this channel to 150K. I'm going in with $2,500 on AMC again.
Oh, baby.
We got to make something for Matt. We got to get something for Matt.
Hey, you're ready there.
Oh, 160. I forgot, man. I forgot. It goes by so fast. Where's my money? I better buy.
I feel like for mine, my chat just so easily peer pressures me into it. I don't know. Me getting to subscriber goal would really help.
Yeah.
They just say do it. I'm like,
I bet
it's noon. It's whatever dip by. Like,
right.
I mean, even the dip today, like I feel like you just, I don't know. I was dipping. I was like, all right, let's play another call. I mean, I think my account, my Robinhood account, I think I own 2 RKT calls, but besides that, there's 15K on AMC and GME. And then the Webull account now, I don't know. More, I don't know. They just tell me to do it. I'm like, whatever. So
is that all in calls? 15K in calls?
No. So I think the GME call on the Webull account's like 10K now. Like it's just all over the map. They just say do it. So here's what I'll do. If any 3 of these hit their goals, I'll just buy more. So I'll just if any 3 of these people, I'll just buy
there
more.
we go. There we go. You right there. You got to listen to the leader of the Space Apes, man. He knows his stuff. Dude, I was watching one of your live streams the other day when you were watching GameStop have that rip, and I thought I saw you buy some, what was it, $200 calls? How'd you make off on those?
So I had 2 of those, and now I have 1. So that's the big one I'm running. Strike price of GME for next one. Today, that was disgusting. Right before this stream, I started thinking about it. At 12:15, I checked it. I showed it on the stream. The profit on that was up to 15K.
15K on one?
Yeah. And then it came down. And at the bottom, when I saw it, it was like up $140. So like in half an hour, I was like, don't do this.
Dude.
Like, stop. So, I mean, and it would be like a public execution if I sold it. So I just did the opposite and bought another call to add back onto it. Because like, life is short. Let's have a bit of fun.
Man, you've got some big kahunas, man. That's insane.
It comes, it goes. Well, so do you guys on it? Are you mainly buying shares or also calls through it? How are you leveraging it yourself? I haven't seen your accounts.
I just buy shares myself.
Yeah, so there's tricks to calls and long positions, right? Because if in order to be able to buy a call, you have to have your account be specifically either a margin account or a cash account. Correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen.
Margin, yeah.
Yeah, so if you do have it as a margin account, that means that if you're on Webull or Robinhood, they are able to then lend out your shares without your permission. And that's when the PSA on my channel. If you don't care about call options at all, if you don't care about options at all, then make sure you turn that off so that neither Webull or Robinhood could lend out your shares and not pay you a red cent on top of that.
Yeah, that gets into the weird thing though of, okay, so to piggyback on that, most of the time Robinhood, the default, like if you guys are wondering out there if you have a margin account or cash account, there's a high likelihood you already have a margin account. Like that's a default when you just sign up.
I think it's automatic with Webull, yeah.
Yeah, so like, and that's also, so people ask a lot, like I'm sure you three get it, of like, what is pattern day trading? How does it work? If you don't have a margin account, you're in a different world of like free, good faith violation, free roll violation, all that stuff. So the thing of 3 day trades, that's in the world of margin accounts. Like there are 2 distinct accounts. So if you're listening out there a little bit confused, it's worth a very, very quick Google search about it. But if you're in the world of option trading, you definitively have a margin account.
Yeah, man, it's a must. I mean, and if you're smart about it, you do accrue interest, you know, depending on your margin account. I guess it's different for different brokers or your personal portfolio, but it settles your cash, which is huge. Like if you got to get in and out of a stock, even if it's just you don't have that 25K allotment for the pattern day trader, I think it's a big deal, especially with options. I mean, just as you're saying, it's a necessity. Yeah, man, I gotta get into options more, but with AMC and GameStop, they're so freaking volatile that I just never know if it's gonna be one of those weeks where it rips or if it's gonna be one of those weeks where it just stays flat or dips. You know,
it can definitely be brutal, but I find like if you do it and you see those extremes, then when you just go back to stocks, you're like, oh, this is nothing.
Yeah, right, man. Exactly.
Yeah.
Just get myself psychologically ready for normal stock movements post this.
You know,
Now, what's your biggest win?
My biggest win. So I was talking with you a little bit, Max, about that. How I used my background, and really one of my biggest portfolios is on the futures market. So I just run some algorithms on that. Christmas 2 years ago, I was short natural gas, and in one contract that was like about 25K each. So that was like an awesome Christmas. A couple of days later, I lost like a good half of it, but that's a whole different story. But it was a big short on natural gas. And right now, though, I'm gearing it up. If AMC successfully squeeze, it could very much be a 6-figure trade for me. So I have 12 call options on AMC, $9 strike. I paid $1 each. If we get to that $15, $17, $50, $20 area, that's going to definitely be a $100,000 gain if AMC actually squeezes. So nice. Even though I'm making more money on GME right now, and I know, Trey, I know you and I are going to fight about it, but right now I think GME has a better chance of squeezing. But in my heart of hearts, I hope AMC squeezes bigger because that's where like, the big money is for me.
Right. Yeah, man. I think GameStop and AMC, they're different situations, and they don't really mirror each other too much until today, right? So when both those stocks were dipping really, really hard, and they got attacked at like the same time, the charts kind of separated themselves. And I remember I talked with Max about it a little bit. I think Andrew as well. And we were just like, dude, these charts are not the same. They haven't been for about 2 weeks. And I honestly don't mind if GameStop rips before AMC does, because this is what I'm thinking about. You're gonna have a bunch of smooth-brained apes who make a crap ton of money on GameStop. We're gonna be like, now I've got all this cash. What do I want to do with this? Well, we've got AMC over here, you know, the good brother. We can come over here and attribute to the cause, you know. And I think that GameStop has more attention. That's the big kicker, right? The volume's higher, and squeezes don't happen without the volume. And I've been saying that forever. We're gonna need to get back into that 500 million, 600 million volume on AMC for a squeeze to happen. It's just not there yet. It can get there. It's just gonna take some time.
If you had to just like put a likelihood, and obviously none of this is predictable. If you think a squeeze happened, like, are you looking this week, next week, end of March? And I know it's like, obviously we're just throwing mud against the wall here. Like no one hold it to them. But like, do you think it's a sooner rather than later thing? Or do you think we're just building up momentum and it still might take like a week or two? And I'm just asking, because I get that question a lot and I don't know how to answer. Of like, when's it going to happen? I'm like, well, if I had a crystal ball, I would be a billionaire on a beach somewhere. Like, I don't know the answer. But like, do you think this is a slow burn thing, like potentially the end of March, or are you thinking this week, next week, like we're still in the world of fireworks?
So,
you know,
go ahead. Trey. Oh, in that sense, I'll keep it quick. What I've been using as a way to keep everybody satisfied, because everybody just wants to be satisfied right now when it comes to that question. They don't really think that you have the answer, or at the very least, if they do, then we are not financial advisors, guys. So this is the main point of the show, right? We're trying to provide you as much education as possible. So the main point, without belabor, is if you are trying to sell on the way up, you are gonna likely get burned. Right, you're likely going to be not minimizing regret, and you're trying to maximize profits on the way up instead. Right, have a definitive exit strategy. There are many different ways to be able to do it, but a smart way to that doesn't step on people's shoes is just imagine that the squeeze can happen at any time. And when you're watching one of our 4 channels, you're likely going to be notified of when the at least the 4 of us deem it is the squeeze and how it is defined as squeeze, right? Because no one knows exactly how high it's going to go. When it actually gets there, then start selling on the way down, because you can see this as linear, right? We're not trying to bet on a place that the dartboard needs to be at exactly the right time, because we know how high it can get. And we know that once it gets high, it has to come down eventually. And if Volkswagen squeeze is any indicator, if even the January gamma squeeze is any indicator, you'll have at least a couple of days to be able to make your decision by then. So that's the main point, right? When is the squeeze going to happen? Is it going to be this week? Well, stay tuned. If it isn't this week, you'll still be able to sell on the way down.
Yeah, the problem is trying to identify what's a temporary dip on the way up and what's actually going down.
Yeah, man. That's totally it. And I think that's what the paper hands, as people say, I hate saying that, it just kind of sounds goofy, but the paper hands freak out when there's like those half-hour dips. And you're going to know when the stock is done, because it's not going to be like a half-hour dip. Like, dips come hard and they can bounce back hard. So when a stock goes up way too quick, right, it's just not healthy movement. Usually comes back down pretty quick. If a stock goes down really fast, it's usually going to bounce as well. From what I've watched with the Volkswagen squeeze, right, that first day that it squeezed, or squoze, or whatever the word is, it had a little bit of a rundown, a pretty harsh rundown that day, but then it was a slow bleed from there. And I think that'd be a pretty good indicator. And yeah, like Andrew was saying, maybe you leave a little bit on the top. Like, there's only gonna be a handful of people that time the top at the exact right time. I mean, think about this. Buying and selling is back and forth between 2 people, right? You got to get somebody else to purchase your shares, which means when you sell, there's only a certain amount of people that are gonna be able to hit that tip top. So to expect that you're going to be that person, get that out of your head. Like, you're going to leave money on the top of the chart. There's just no way. So I'm 100% with Andrew. I think the way to go about this is not to expect a date, but just to be ready for when the day comes, because all that setting a date does is get our hopes up. You know, I can't tell you how many times people are like, you always keep saying tomorrow, even though I never do. I'm sure you guys get this too anytime you talk about AMC, but we just can't do that. We can't do that. We're going to lose people, because then they're going to have that expectation and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But if I had to answer your question, Matt, that March 19th date looks pretty sexy. That looks like it could be a pretty big deal.
With the quadruple witching. And I mean, I could get on that. I mean, my chat knows I'm all about conspiracy theories, so sign me up for whatever. But I also like Max's idea of like, well, because we're all expecting that, it's going to be a little bit off, whether people front run it, back run it, like of kind of close in there. But man, I mean, we're seeing the volume pick up each day. I mean, today, I think we at least, well, no, honestly, I would argue on both, we came so close to like that final straw to break the camel's back. Like, we were going up, like GME was about to break through 350. The volume was there. There was just so much pain. And then, I mean, obviously we got hit pretty hard, but like from a technical perspective, I've been calling for AMC at a minimum just to gap fill up to 1291. Like, at this point, there's a gap in the chart. Market makers love that. We were so close. I think at 1240, 1250, something right there. I was like, this is the day we're going to hit it. I was expecting both to come up to resistance, sit there. And then I was honestly fingers crossed for like Elon or someone to tweet something overnight. And we just see it like, you know, you're talking to some good investors when we're relying on celebrities tweeting. Like, all right, like,
that's it.
But that's the world we're dealing in right now. This, like, we're so beyond the realm of like fundamentals in GameStop, like, or the fundamentals of GameStop and AMC being accurate, like right now of how it is. Like, they might grow into it. I hope they do. I want them to be successful. But now, to me, this is just big insights on human psychology. We're balancing out Greer feed, FOMO. That's like what this is. This isn't like Max really hit the nail on the head when he's like, this earnings report, like, it's good. It was either going to be neutral when people didn't care. Like, of course, movie theaters lost money. Like, what'd you expect? The world was shut down. Like, duh. And then the only thing that I could have really seen was if they just said something oddly bullish that he's like, oh, like, I don't know, like what they could have said, but just to, like, I mean, the CEO of AMC is like very much on our side. Like he wants it to squeeze. Like you could tell, like, he's like, like we thank our friends on Reddit, like, like, and you should, but like, I don't know, like so many people were very, very excited. And you even saw it in the chart of like, at the end of the day, not much happened with AMC for like the last hour. And I think people were like, okay, what's going to happen in this earnings? And it kind of confused me because like out of all of their earnings, I think it's like almost probably their least important one. Like, because we're in a world of just meme stocks, man. Like that's just what it is now. Like, I don't know. I'm excited. Do you guys, any three of you, do you think, okay, the last time with GameStop, like it was a Wednesday at the end of January, like, I don't know, maybe the 27th. So it had a Wednesday, Thursday. And then over that weekend, we had the weekend, the noise, like the news really got through the people. And then that whole week, that was the excitement. Do you think if we don't get action by this Friday, that it'll die out over the weekend because people are just like, okay, the market's not closed? Or do you think it'll carry through and we're still good? Like, are you worried about the weekend at all?
I don't think I'm personally worried about it. I'd be interested to hear your guys' thoughts. And I try to keep things optimistic. Obviously, we have to. But what I'm excited about the most is I think a lot of people are paying attention to that March 19th date. And it's actually, backable. There's actual tangible things that we can look forward to with that. So even if the earnings report, right, we don't get that move that we need to push up to that gap up like you were talking about, Matt, on the chart setup, right? We still have, something that we can look forward to in the future. And that makes like the long-term project a little bit easier when you've got a short-term goal. So having that short-term date in the back of our mind, something that like we expect can happen, right? We don't know for sure, but we have that to look forward to. That keeps people engaged, and I think that's a pretty big deal. But I'd be interested to hear what you guys think for sure.
Yeah,
So,
go ahead. Okay, I was going to say on the concern side of the spectrum, just to paint the full picture here, I have some concerns just how on edge people are. Like we know, we've all been to the peaks before. We've all been to the bottom of the pit, and it's kind of like this X that we just keep on coming back to at this point. So I'm just wondering how sensitive are people going to be, once the price is crawling upwards, there's a small correction. Are people just going to sell off and make that small correction turn into a huge correction? So that's kind of a concern of mine, where you have all these individuals who've been burned before on these stocks recently, where everyone kind of needs to form as one if it's going to really happen.
Well, first of all, this is why we need to get scissors in the chat right now to cut out all those paper hands.
Drop them.
We don't need them. This is a prisoner's dilemma waiting to happen. If you think that 1K, 10K, 100K is not a meme, you don't want these paper hands on board. Those are those people who are shaken up by the turbulence. It's gonna be too much heat for you, and you need to get out of the kitchen. Now, Trey, would you mind sharing the screen share that I have? Because if you guys are concerned about the weekend, just to answer the question, what we have here is some option interest. This is just from straight up NASDAQ, the option chain here, and we're looking at both March 12th and March 19th with strike prices for GME. I know this is an AMC specific live stream, but just take a look at GME as an example, right? Data is king. I always try to have data when we have these kinds of questions answered. And at 345, this was where we were about to cross over to 3.269, of course, very nice, million shares, right? This would have been in the money. And this is another 400,000 shares that would have been in the money if we crossed actually over to 350. These contracts are still in play. It's not like they just suddenly evaporated. And when the dip actually happened, we saw an increase of almost double this amount of shares that are trying to be in the money by 800. See, this all the way goes to 800, where there is 13 million shares. Almost that many shares got added during today's mini boss fight. So if this all sounds like something that is coming up to one of the largest gamma squeezes, possibly the largest in the lifetime of gamma squeezes. If you guys want to aware, gamma squeezes aren't even that well documented of a thing until like February and January of this year. So this is a brand new thing that is making history, and that's why I'm excited to talk to Josh, Hey It's Pixel, who wrote the GME DD. He's going to come on the show tomorrow, and I'll be able to update you apocalypse horsemen a little later tomorrow.
So why is it that gamma squeezes aren't that well documented? Is it just so many more people doing options than ever before, or do we have a reason why?
That would be my guess. I I think that's sorry to interrupt you, Andrew. I apologize. I think that there just wasn't that many people playing options like that in the past. I mean, and like personally myself, right up until AMC and GameStop, I had honestly never heard of a gamma squeeze. I just never had. I mean, and when you think about how Volkswagen happened, the similarities and the differences between AMC, GameStop, and Volkswagen, they're much, much different, right? So like Volkswagen didn't necessarily need the gamma squeeze. They had options contracts. So you had Porsche and the German government that played into it, but there was just two entities there, right? So they were able to kind of control that in a much different way than we as people are. Now, since we have Reddit and these different tools and people are able to be like, hey, based on this rule and that rule, right? We know that there's delta hedging. The clearinghouses have to hedge right here. We know that these shares expiring in the money would have to be purchased at that significant strike price from the market, right? It can drive up that price. It's just new. Like, just people didn't know about it, I don't think. And you guys can speak on this just as much as I can. I know it because your channels have blown up over the last couple months just like mine did. There are so many people that are getting into investing now. It's insane. So that's just more eyes on things, and it's more volume coming into the market. I think that's huge.
Plus stimulus. There was a survey that just came out where the individuals between age of 20 and 27, I believe, 50% of them said that they're going to put their stimulus check into stocks, and they're estimating they're estimating that's going to be an extra 30 to 50 billion dollars in the stock market 2 weeks from now.
Dang, that's gnarly. Jeez. Guys, you mind if we take a quick breather here? I got a $100 super chat in here, and I wanted to read this off for you guys. This is coming from Zachary Garrison. He says, let's get a poll of that Kraken and a toast, my guy. Tell the other three to join. I don't know if you guys want to take a rip of anything, but on my live streams, it's a thing that we do over here at the Trades community. We take at least one rip of the Kraken, which is the king of the Black Lagoon. So I'm going to give out a nice cheers and toast to you three and to the Gorilla Gang. So bear with me really quick. I just like doing this. Cheers to the three of you. Honestly, guys, I really appreciate your presence and you coming to the live stream. I appreciate you guys' live streams as well, your own channels. I mean, you guys are awesome. It's freaking sick. And not to make this, some sort of sappy love story or whatever, but it's without the people of the community in YouTube, right? This could not have happened. It couldn't have. I mean, if we were just individual investors and we didn't have Reddit, Discord, YouTube, all these different groups to discuss and talk about things and learn from each other, we wouldn't be in this situation right now. So I'm really grateful for the opportunities and the relationships that I built, especially for you three. Matt, we're going to have you on this live stream again down the road. I tell you what, the four horsemen will live on. So cheers to you guys and cheers to the Gorilla Gang out there. Bottoms up, you know what it is.
Cheers, cheers.
If I had alcohol, I would cheers, but I'm at my office.
Beautiful.
I feel like if you do this enough, you might get sponsored by Kraken. Like, you just got to really double down on it.
That'd be a life dream. I tell you what, I got two life dreams now. First one is to be a voice actor for an anime. Second would be to be sponsored by Kraken. That'd be monstrous.
I keep talking about this Gucci duck shirt that I'm going to buy. So I just need someone out there. Guys, if you have connections to Gucci, let's make this happen. I will ride them all. It's like one of the worst shirts I've ever seen, and I just need it so bad. Like, I just need it, man.
I think I saw you talking about that one of your live streams. Wasn't it like $5,000 or something for that Gucci duck shirt?
It's like 2.3 thousand, but I feel like at first you're like, oh, this is awful. And it is awful, which makes it so much better. I'm like, well, what if I turn it into an NFT? Like, there's so many avenues we could take this. Like, it's a business expense to own a duck shirt at this point. Like,
there you go.
But my biggest concern is if I were to buy it and then day one something happens, well, my chat would be like, no, don't wear that again. And there goes $2,000 on his shirt out the window. So like, I need it to be on like a very, very lucky day. So it's a high risk, high reward situation.
At the very least, you could put it on the wall behind you and you'd have a good story.
Oh, yeah, big time. Big time.
You have to wear it on quadruple wishing day at this rate. Like, this is 100%.
For sure. I tried to buy a NASA jacket and it got stolen. Like, the package got stolen. Like, it was there and I was streaming and I got the message for delivery. And then by the time I went to go up, like, I was so bummed about it that day. I had this awesome, I think it's actually, who made it? Joe Rogan, I think, wore it like on one of his podcasts and everyone freaked out. I was like, oh, I need that NASA jacket. But I guess wasn't meant to be this time around.
Dang. There we go.
Oh, shucks.
Guys, if you're still listening, tuning in here, all 12,000 of you, if you have not subbed to Andrew, to Matt, to Max, make sure you check out their links. I've got them handled up here in the title. If you just click on the names, it'll bring you over to the channel. They're almost subbed. These are some awesome dudes covering AMC and GameStop just about every day, like we are over here at the channel, and they deserve some love, so make sure you do that for them. Back to the conversation. Where do we want to hop from here?
So I have the Q&A pulled up. It's been pulled up for a sec.
All right.
Should we listen to it?
Yeah, let's do it.
There we go.
And thanks for taking my questions, and thanks for all the prepared remarks. Good to hear you well. Adam, just wanted to start off with a broad one on the theatrical window topic. We've now heard from many of your studio partners, including Universal, Paramount, and Warner. Just wondering how you're thinking about this, from an agreement standpoint, what this means to the business model, and how this could affect getting back to historical EBITDA margins. Thanks.
Thank you, Chad. So this is an area, I actually could have put this in the prepared remarks, but I figured I'd save it for questions. This is an area where I feel very good. Dating back to my first weeks at AMC, we signed on to something called Screening Room. It never took off, but some of you may remember it. That was going to play movies at home earlier than traditional windows. And I think that over the past several years, AMC has indicated in private conversations with every major studio that we are willing to be the most experimental movie theater circuit around with respect to windows strategies that were different than the traditional norm. But we always laid down one marker, and that was if we adjusted windows, it had to be good for AMC shareholders, not bad for AMC shareholders. And when we couldn't strike deals with studios on shorter windows, we resisted them with all of our might. Some of you will recall the letter exchange from April of 2020 with Universal as an example of that. Having said that, after a very brief, given that we were at it for years, after a very brief 90 days of serious discussion, we announced what we thought was a groundbreaking, landmark new agreement with Universal that was good for Universal and good for AMC. It suggested that there were other ways than the hidebound traditional way to release movies that could be done in a way that was beneficial for our studio partners and for AMC as a theater chain. Fast forward to Warner's announcement about HBO Max. We put out a very clear statement that we were not willing to let Warner Brothers advantage its streaming service at AMC shareholders' expense. And you may have noticed that we are playing Warner Brothers movies right now. Now, we never discuss our film terms publicly, and I won't break that pattern today. But you should properly assume that if we're playing Warner movies, we came to agreement with Warner that any changes in their strategy are being done in ways where AMC shareholders benefit as opposed to our being penalized.
Okay, we can stop there real quick so that we can have a word in edgewise. That someone just asked, who is this? That's Adam Aron, the CEO of AMC, answering his shareholder question.
Our Lord and Savior.
Our Lord and Savior.
I'm not religious, but if I had to be, it'd be to that man.
Please.
You guys let me know what you think. This caught my eye right off the bat. He said AMC Theaters is more open basically to innovation and experimentation than probably any other movie theater chain out there. And I can't help but think this popping off my head right off the bat. We've heard these rumors about an Amazon acquisition and being able to release movies before they would air in the theaters. That seems like, it's a stretch. That's a connection, right? It's just a hypothesis, but that wouldn't blow my mind. More than anything, I like that they're being open to innovation because that's what I focus on the most with my personal portfolio is innovative stocks. What do you guys think of that?
That's a great point. And actually, so some people have been following that Amazon acquisition story for a very long time. And one of the first thoughts is, well, this one qualifies Amazon like Prime for a bunch of the rewards that can only be qualified if they show these theatrical releases in theaters. And two, if they've been meaning to do it, then AMC, with the amount of love been given to AMC by all four of our fan bases and all of the people who have just been diamond handing this stonk, could actually create a brand new synergy for both companies. That said, there were a lot of stigma and risk attached to it. For example, if this doesn't squeeze or perhaps somehow ends up being negative overall, it just seems like too big of a risk for Amazon to take on, especially since they could just throw a bunch of money at a brand new movie theater chain without betting it all on red in this case.
Trey, I have a question. Like, speaking about innovation, I mean, obviously we've been following the Amazon one, but just as a core business, like, what kind of innovation do you see past like movie screening and the movie experience? Like, where do you see that like next level going to? Like, if they start throwing streaming service like for TV, like a Netflix, Roku, Disney competitor, like, what would make you super stoked if they're like, hey, we are now going to try this?
I think streaming is something that a lot of people do and don't have success in. Not to say that they couldn't do it, right? I think if there was an Amazon acquisition, you'd have maybe some sort of partnership where AMC movies or whatever would be screening at AMC would be available on Amazon, because I know they have their own select, series that they have available on Amazon. What would get me really excited, and this is why I like Microvision so much, is a while back, it was a couple of years ago, they talked about AR and VR, augmented reality, virtual reality. And this sounds goofy, but hear me out. 3D glasses. You guys remember when 3D movies came out? That was like the bee's knees for like a year, and now they're non-existent. Like, it just didn't take off. It didn't happen because it wasn't comfortable. Like, it looked kind of goofy. It just didn't play out right. But augmented reality, virtual reality, I think that would get people excited, because you cannot do that at home, right? I mean, if you could pay $20 to go to the movies, and that's where they can increase revenue as well. I mean, they could charge more because they have to pay for that equipment or whatever, and it would get people excited, because to have your own AR VR equipment at home would cost you who knows how much money, $400, $500, $600 just for those goggles. It'd be an expensive innovation. I don't necessarily think they do that for all their rooms, right? But maybe like how you'd have one 3D room for movies, you could shift into that AR VR sector of things. I think streaming is possible, but there's just so many people doing it. Like, it's a really broad market. And for AMC to say that they're going to dominate that, I got to be real with you. I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, also streaming hasn't been profitable yet. It's grown fast, but none of those companies have made any profit from it.
Mm-hmm. You want to talk about a streaming service that gets me excited? It's Fubo. I think Fubo is going to nail it. I think they're going to do really, really good. But that's not important.
Actually, talking about Fubo, I was just reading about how they acquired, this was a bit ago, Balto Sports, and that's a sports betting company. And I'm like huge fan, DraftKings, Penn National, Balto's, like the fact that they can get potentially into the world of sports betting. I think that'll be amazing for Fubo.
Oh yeah, big time. That's where they're capitalizing, man, is that sports streaming. That's just something that other streaming programs don't offer. I mean, that's game changing. It's an untapped market. And if you're the leader, I mean, think of Tesla. How long did Tesla dominate? Because they were the only electric vehicle manufacturer in the United States. And now you've got this risk of other electric vehicles coming out, such as maybe Lucid, and you've got NIO, XPEV, all these Chinese companies. And now there's some competition. It changes the game a little bit. So if Fubo can dominate that market, dude, that'd be insane.
We'll have to talk about that one of these days. How many, I guess, Andrew, how many more in the QA? Do we want to roll that next one?
Yeah, let's do it.
Just so much. So let me know when this gets dry, but here we go to the next question.
We are willing to engage with every major studio on the same topic. And I continue to be optimistic that, having been business partners with all these studios for a century, we can adjust the business relationships between us and our studio partners such that they can support their streaming services and their theatrical releases, and do so not at our expense. So I know that there have been others who aren't necessarily privy to our private conversations who are more anxious about Windows than am I. But so far, our dealings with studios where Windows policies have changed, we've made changes such that we think we come out ahead and not come out behind.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And then, Sean, you noted the reduced CapEx for the year, the guidance of $100 million. How are you guys thinking about the percentage of your theaters now that have been updated? If the renovation return CapEx is still in the cards in the future, or if that is almost complete, and then if new build opportunities come along, how would you think about partnering with landlords to build more, particularly if your liquidity is strong and the business is stable? Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks for the question. Our primary focus right now, I think, as we said in our prepared remarks, is A, liquidity, and B, deleveraging. And so you see that reflected in the CapEx guidance for 2021 of $100 million, primarily focused on maintenance CapEx. We're pretty fortunate that over the last few years, we have spent a considerable amount of CapEx renovating and updating our theater fleet. And so the timing is quite good to reduce that CapEx. We're always planning to reduce that CapEx in 2020, and we did reduce it, and we reduced it even more than our original plans just because of the situation with the pandemic. But we believe that our theater portfolio is in good shape. The $100 million is predominantly maintenance related. I would expect in the future, as our liquidity position improves, as our leverage position improves, we will then look to invest more from a growth point of view. But at this point, as I said at the beginning, it's primarily leverage and liquidity. And I'll let Adam talk a little bit about the growth opportunities.
So what we're finding, just literally last week, we opened a new build theater in Denver. And what we're finding is that landlords still find the AMC brand to be very powerful. And opportunities are coming our way constantly to pick up existing theaters or to have new builds in attractive locations. And I would expect that you'll see new builds continue for us, or what we sometimes call spot acquisitions. Having said that, we're in a position where we can be somewhat demanding with respect to the landlords of those theaters. For us to take on a new build theater going forward, the landlord's going to have to take a lot more risk as opposed to AMC taking a lot more risk. So you probably will see a greater capital contribution from landlords rather than from us. You might see percentage rents based on the ebb and flow of theatrical revenues rather than fixed rents. We're solely on the hook for the success of the theater. So I still think they're our future, but they'll be on much more attractive financial terms to us than the expansion that we might have put in place over the past decade when times were more flush.
Okay, that's another long extended question.
Very long.
That was deep. There's a lot of stuff there.
So the first thing that I want to dive into is the fact that he thinks that people who are going to partner up with AMC in the future are going to be the ones that are paying more of the bill and people who are going to be taking on more of the risk. And I wonder if this is what shareholders want to actually hear, or perhaps if this is like a brand new strategy for AMC, or if this has been a long time coming. Do you guys know anything about that?
So I think with it, I think they're more so of like this kind of connects to an earlier part in the Q&A when they were basically just saying how they were able to argue for like better rates from, I guess, the landlord renters. I didn't actually know that. I thought AMC owned a decent amount of their own places. I didn't realize that they actually rented so many. So I think they're just leveraging that as like the brand itself gets stronger, that they think they'll continue to get more and more favorable rates. But they actually even went out of their way to thank the landlords of like how amazing they've been over the past year to help the business stay alive. So it seems like they have a pretty good like relationship, like a business relationship. Like I guess one hand washes the other, but I don't know. I guess I don't get where they're really going with that specifically. Like they seem to be pretty excited about Denver expanding in there, but I don't know if they're just going to go into like almost like a quasi like franchise thing for like the land to like just rent out to AMC's. I didn't quite get it.
Yeah, because most of the power of, like, let's say a franchise like McDonald's is the real estate, right? McDonald's owns the real estate, and that's how they make most of the money. Now, the fact that he thinks that AMC is going to grow a stronger brand, perhaps, or perhaps this is interpretation from the four of us. It's a 101-year-old brand, right? It might be one of the most well-known brands for movie theaters, like total. Right. So how much stronger can they expect the brand to grow, especially when it comes to basically a landlord's market? Right. It depends on how many people are ready to go back into the shopping world. But like that is entirely dependent on the landlords getting the final say. So I'm wondering how AMC has a stronger position right now.
I think the legacy of AMC carries a lot of weight, and that's not like a quantitative thing, but there is importance to being a market king. Like when you think of the leader of fast food, you think of McDonald's. And I think if you were to look at McDonald's, you would just assume that that's the king just based on the name. Like the name carries weight. Same thing happens with AMC because they are a 101-year-old company. That name carries itself, just like Tesla would, just like Apple would. It's tough to bring down those kind of monopoly like companies because they've existed for so long and they do hold so much weight until something steps in and is like a big smack. Like honestly, I think there are Android phones out there that are better than Apple, but just because Apple's name, just because of the company, they're the superior company. It's just how it is. And I think the same thing can be said about AMC in that its legacy carries a lot of weight. That doesn't really address the landlord issue and not holding property. Personally, I don't like that. I think if you own a building, it's just basically either collecting equity or at least maintaining your equity instead of just putting money into the void. I think a good move there would be to purchase those properties out from landlords, but I don't know if you can really do that. I mean, I've never tried buying a movie theater before, so that's out of my realm of expertise.
Yeah, there's kind of two different strategies when it comes to real estate, and it seems like companies kind of go all in or completely avoid it. So my guess is a few years back, or maybe even 50 years back, they realized most of their profits are deriving from their business operations, not from the real estate they hold. And for whatever reason, they decided we don't want to hold that much real estate. We have to pay for maintenance. We're making all our money over here on popcorn sales. We don't want to worry about the real estate. My guess is they just made that decision.
I feel, I don't know, just a little bit of this chat. Like, obviously, it is very important to the fundamentals of AMC. But if we're all on the same page of right now, we're kind of operating outside of the fundamentals. There seems to be a lot of interest in what the share issue is. Like, did they address that in the QA? Because like some of the people right now are commenting that they talked about that a little bit. Andrew, do we have that like later in the QA, or do we have that time marked or anything?
I have not.
I found something that kind of addresses this. It might help answer some questions, but it might create some more questions.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
So I have this SEC report that I found that has to do with an annual meeting of stockholders to be held on May 4th. And in this, several times it references how there are 450 million common shares, but they're approving an amendment to increase shares by another 500 million shares on May 4th, up to like 1 billion shares in total. So now we have all these different numbers floating around as far as the total number of shares. Now if I look at any other website, they're slightly different numbers. So it doesn't really answer why there's 450 million shares. And it seems like they're going to try and create more shares on May 4th.
You know, from what I read, correct me if I'm wrong here, in that SEC report, I think that's going to be something that's voted upon, right? So that's not a guaranteed thing. Right. I don't know if as shareholders we have the ability to do that, but if we do, I don't think that's in the best interest of shareholders. I mean, I'd have to look into why the company wants to, create 500 million more shares to add to the public float. But I mean, I think about what comes to mind is companies that'll try to do a reverse split, and that's voted on by shareholders, and almost every single time it's rejected because that shows weakness in a company. I mean, it's a long ways down the road, but I'd be surprised to see that come to fruition, I guess. What do you guys think?
I mean, it's hard to say. This document is like 50 pages long, so I can't.
You got to sit down for 2 hours.
Yeah, I can't easily find an answer to what we're looking for. But
is it like a share split, like as in just making more that way, or like an actual legitimate dilution? Is that like what it's referring to?
I think it's a legitimate dilution.
Yeah, I think so too. It says this is the first proposal on the agenda: amendment of our third amendment and restated certificate of incorporation to increase the total number of shares of Class A common stock par value of 1 cent per share. The company shall have the authority to issue by 500 million shares to a total of 1,024,000,000 shares of Class A common stock.
Yeah, I covered this in a video, and the Class A stock typically is not like the stock that's saved for the common investor. It's typically saved for like the insiders, the management. But with AMC, the Class A stock is actually available to the general public. It's the common stock that's available to everybody. And I think that's where the panic and fear is coming from, is because this could actually dilute. But if people get to vote on this, I just don't see it happening. I'd be really, really surprised. I was reading that in the chat, and I thought that was worth pointing out. Were you gonna say something, Matt?
I mean, that just seems like so many. Like that's close to, is it just 100% dilution? Like they're just dumbing up. That's crazy. Like usually dilutions, even like penny stocks don't do it that bad. They're like, all right, like we'll throw in 20 million and see what happens. Like they don't say. So I don't know.
I want to know what the reasoning is for that. Why would they do it?
I think that is explained somewhere in here. I'll keep looking through it and see if I can find as to why they want to do that.
While you're looking, do you guys mind if I just read some of these super chats off? I appreciate when people send these. I just don't want to be too rude. Just take a couple seconds here.
Take your time.
Rock on. And thank you everybody that's dropped the super chat. I know that I haven't been reading these. We do try to engage with the four horsemen here while we've got them here. So thank you to Eileen, the J Plus, Ego, X-Zoned, Eric, Zoned again, Daniel, Kurz, Alan, Carlos Cameron, Brent Edgy, Nick, all you guys that have dropped the super chat. It is highly appreciated. And once we get back to regularly scheduled programming, I will be reading those off more regularly. But take advantage of the guests here, and don't feel like you have to drop a super chat, as we probably won't have as much time to get to them here today. Back to it. Sorry about that.
Okay, so I found in here the reason for the recommendation to increase these shares. So this will take like a minute to read, but it says the board believes that it's in the best interest of the company to increase the number of authorized shares of our capital stock in order to give the company greater flexibility in considering and planning for future general corporate needs, including but not limited to the offer of sale of common stock in one or more public offerings or private placements, the grant of common stock or warrants, options or other convertible securities in one or more strategic transactions, stock dividends, grants, under equity compensation plans. The board believes that additional authorized shares of capital stock will enable the company to take timely advantage of market conditions and favorable financing and other opportunities that may be available to the company. The authorized but unissued shares will only be issued at the discretion of the board and if required by applicable law or regulation of the New York Stock Exchange. So it kind of sounds to me like they're basically saying people are pumping up our stock right now. If we create more shares, we might get more, complete market cap. And it also seems like an approval of this sets aside a potential future approval. So they would just be able to issue them later, just with a board vote.
Right. And that's the same thing that's enacted with the reverse split. So you vote on the potential, like the go for it, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to exercise that. It's just giving them the right to exercise if they want to down the road. That's interesting. Okay.
Well, I guess we'll see how that plays out in May. But I guess from now, like playing out in March, I don't know. I'm curious what you three think about it. Are you guys? I mean, it's so hard to put a percentage on it of like it playing out. But like in general, I guess in more vague terms, like, are you guys still feeling pretty confident about this? If we do, I mean, what AMC's all-time highs is like 33, 35 from like almost, 8 years ago, something like that. Like, do you think we're going back there? Like, because I get this question so much of like, what could this squeeze possibly go to? And I'm like, well, with this, you just don't know. You don't know how greedy people are going to get. You don't know how much money is bet on one side or the other. I get this question so much, and I've been trying to figure it out. Like, where do you guys think this could realistically play out to the 10,000 people listening? How many ever 1,000 people listening? Of like, I'm sure that's a big, big question on their head of like, where do we realistically see it going, even though we know it's not the biggest percentage chance of it playing out?
So answering that question is a big risk reward question for a YouTuber, right? Because if you don't give out a price prediction, you're clear. But if you do, suddenly you're playing with Crisco on fire, because then you are
cooking with Crisco, man.
Yeah, you can't just go back and be like, oh, no, I didn't say that. No, you're live streaming right now. This is for the internet forever. So what I would say is right now, if you're looking at these two stocks on the option chain, then this is a pretty clear sign that a snowball picks up a steam after the most shares go in the money. For example, for GME, I only know these numbers off the top of my head. I just showed you 13 million shares would be in the money at 800. So people are like, is it going to go up to 8,000? Then I say, based on whether or not it goes to 800, it can easily pass 1,000 because these shares would be in the money. And if you guys aren't quite aware, when a call option occurs, people know that. And people are waiting for the price to be close to be in the money. And then these institutions that sold these contracts are going to have to either hedge or hope and pray that it doesn't go above the strike price. So when it comes to trying to predict the numbers, follow the data and see exactly how many shares are going to be in the money at a specific price. That makes it clear that GME has a ways to go above 800 and beyond.
So my dad passed something on to me that I think applies to a lot of things in life. And he said that there's 4 things that attribute to success in anything. It's grit, skill, luck, and timing. And luck and timing aren't controllable, right? So we can control our grit, like how long we hold out. The diamond hands or the paper hands are going to give up when this is getting harder. You're going to keep holding, right? We can control our skill, which is reading the data, reading the numbers, reading the technical analysis, keeping up to date with the recent news. And then the timing and luck are out of our control. We can only control what we do specifically. We can't control what other people do, right? Everybody's financial situation is different, and everybody has a different idea of how much money they want to make. So with that being said, fear and greed are the 2 things that drive the market. When is the FOMO going to kick in? How high is it going to go? And then the greed, how greedy are people going to be? Right? So hypothetically speaking, this could legitimately hit, AMC could legitimately hit $1,000 and GameStop could legitimately hit 100,000, hypothetically speaking. It could. I mean, short squeezes, if you set a limit order, the shorts that have their positions have to buy back at whatever you designate, right? But the difference between, Volkswagen and this is you had 2 entities that ran that, right? Porsche and the German government, and they could talk together like this, but we've got millions of apes across the world that are all doing their own thing. So to give an answer is like just impossible. It's so crazy. I think hypothetically it could hit pretty much 1,000. I've seen AMC to 1,000. I've seen GameStop to 500K, whatever. It's possible, but nobody knows. Nobody does. It's just the truth.
Do you think though, like just in terms of psychology, like a lot of this money is going to be from other hedge funds that are betting on our side? If we saw AMC at it's one thing if Space Apes and Gorilla Gang and just everyone in the retail public continues to hold it. But if you have hedge funds like pulling the ripcord of like, no, we're happy with AMC at $100, like that's going to obviously kind of stymie it.
Oh, yeah, it definitely would.
So, like at a certain point when you have like billions of dollars of like, hey, we just made a 10x return. We're good. Like we just hit our numbers for the next like half decade. We're fine. I mean, like, as much as like the retail public really is, I guess, the symbol of this, so much money is just hedge funds trying to gut other hedge funds. Like they're ruthless. They are trying to like take out a competitor while they can.
Out for blood, man.
So like, I think that's actually almost comforting knowing that like when we see AMC or GME take a hit, well, I mean, at a certain point, like we do have hedge funds on our side. Like there's other ones, like, I mean, BlackRock's one of the biggest owners right now of AMC. They don't want that to go down. They're going to pull every underhanded tactic they possibly can to bring AMC back up. But it's just at a certain point, even if we have retail traders willing to hold it out, I just wonder when someone like BlackRock's like, actually we like have to do it because of like we have our own fiduciary responsibility to get profits for our customers.
And this is what's awesome about these live streams is getting perspectives that I hadn't even thought about. Not to say that I hadn't thought about that, obviously, but that's a big deal. Like I've been talking about this on my channel. I know that you've been talking about it. Hedge funds are going long on this. It's cutthroat. Like you said, they're trying to kill hedge funds because that's just less competition that they have, more money that they can make. So they definitely 100% control the most capital of AMC and GameStop. I don't think it's retail investors either. I think the majority of it is coming from these hedge funds institutions. And I think a lot of them are options contracts, which they don't necessarily have to report how much they're holding on. So that's a pretty big deal. And when they pull the plug, you're going to see it happen because the stock will flush. You'll have one of those sell-offs, and when it sells off for a little while, it'll be a hard move for a while. But nothing can move that fast, that far for a long time. It's not sustainable. And at that point, it's just like we talked about earlier with Andrew, right? Selling on the way down instead of on the way up. So you just got to take it day by day, and then from there you're going to figure out where that squeeze actually is going to end. And you might leave a little bit on the top, but you're never going to be able to guess it otherwise. There's just no possible way.
So if you had to give a tip to all of your viewers or everyone listening right now, do you think the best way to handle it is literally just a trailing stop loss of just be like, hey, ride it up? And then when it takes, is that like the big tactic? Or are you like saying, I like $50, I like 75, I like 100? What would be your big tip to a lot of people who just downloaded Robinhood and Webull 2 months ago, and now they're in it saying like, okay, I'm up money, but how much money? Like, I think it's almost, they're more willing to lose a little bit of money rather than missing out on a potentially like just stupidly massive gain.
Right. No, totally. Then the thing about a trailing stop loss is I would say don't set it until the squeeze starts, because you don't want to get kicked out of your position when it's just setting itself up. So if you have a trailing stop loss right now for 20%, 25%, we've had days where it drops 20 to 25%. And if you get kicked out of your position, you're going to be kicking yourself, So if you want to do that, I would say wait until we start filling the gap. I think that space between $12 and $14 is really significant. And after that, it's going to come hard. Like at that point, I think that's when you're going to see some hard moves, because there's not a lot of price action in there. So from there, maybe consider setting it. But I've given out two kind of strategies for this. I would say if you're worried about missing the top, you could do two things. You could take a little bit off the top as it's climbing, right? So if you've got 100 shares, it's hypothetically speaking $50. You can take off 10 or 15 of those shares, take those profits. It's $60, $65. You can take out 10 or 15 of those shares, take some profits, right? As you a single person doing that, you're not going to affect the squeeze. It's not going to kill the squeeze if you take profits on a small piece of your position. So I would say those are two pretty solid strategies. And then along with what Andrew said as well, I think selling on the way down, even if you do leave a little bit on the top, right, you're still going to be making stupid money if it ends up squeezing the way that it possibly can,
I think that, so I'm reading the chat right now. The chat is pretty wild, actually, if you guys are listening. People do not like stop losses. And I think that, well, first of all, Master of Synthesis, King Trey over here, bringing it together, multiple pieces of the conversation. Big props to that. I think that right now, if you are considering that advice of putting up a stop loss, you would have been kicked out of your position at like 170. That would have been sad. Like, imagine that.
Right.
Selling low is the opposite of how to make wealth, right? And right now, you would essentially, that mini boss, the theory that hey, it's Pixel made, and we'll clarify a little bit more tomorrow. Like he said, this is someone shaking out the paper hands, right? We get scissors in the live chat because the paper hands right now are waiting to make money, whereas the diamond apes are trying to make a point. And that's what makes what you said, Trey, really exciting, because some people are here to try and make a dumb amount of money, right? And that's perfectly
once in a lifetime.
Yeah, that's perfectly fair. It's actually once in a lifetime because of all these new regulations and stuff that will make it not possible to have this kind of opportunity again. But this time, if you are actually not playing with money that you care not about losing, then you should actually just focus up on the history of when this has happened sometime in the past, right? If you saw the massive turbulence back in January, you might have sold on the way down, or you might not have. Right, you might have missed the opportunity, but a trailing stop loss would have like caught you somewhere on the very top of that loss. But it also would have booted you out today if you were trying to if you were worried about getting out at like 200, whereas everyone else was jumping just on top of the huge dip. So at the end of the day, minimizing regret is the biggest play. And if you're trying to make a lot of money and trying not to make sure that you don't miss out on the biggest top, a stop loss might make sense. But unfortunately, it's going to mess up everyone else's squeeze as well.
Dude, you hit it spot on the head. And I think this is something really important. Matt, I know that you've seen this. I know you know what I'm talking about. These stop loss hunts and these limit order hunts. So during the after hours and pre-market, sometimes you'll see wicks that go up or down literally multiples of dollars. And I guarantee you those are hunts. They are closing positions. So keep in the back of your mind, if you have limit orders set, right, you have the potential of losing your position just like that. We know there's manipulation going on. We know there's a bunch of crazy things going on with these hedge funds. And you very well could be leaving some on the table. I'll tell you right now, I don't have a stop loss set on this. I don't. I'm not going to. And I don't necessarily say that you shouldn't do that, but that's not my personal strategy. That's not what I'm going to do. I'm just going to watch this day by day and play it out. What are you doing for this, Matt? I'd be interested to know. What's been your advice to the space apes?
I mean, for me, it's just, I just buy those shares and I'm not doing like there's no stop loss or anything. I just think it's one thing for us of like, I guess what Andrew's saying of making it a point, and I'm resigned to the fact that most likely it'll play out for me, that I'll ride it to the tippity top and I'll most likely end up riding it back down just to prove a point. But for the people out there who are like, hey, like, no, maybe I need some of this money to do something. I think it's easy for us to be on live stream and be like, hang on, like, wait for it to come back down and get it out so you don't like the regret. I like how you said that. But then this brings up Max's point of like, well, how do you know if it's a dip to another big squeeze or if it's like actually the coming over? Like,
right.
Unfortunately, with short squeezes, to the best of my knowledge, there's not anything solid, like quantifiable of like, no, it's the end of the squeeze versus it's a breather and it's going to rip again. And like, I don't know. I wish we had a better answer for chat on that. Unless one of you three, I would be stoked if you had a better answer than that. Like, but like,
I think
unfortunately,
it's kind of unanswerable.
Max, you're totally on the money, man. There's no way. I mean, what did GameStop do? It ripped up to like $300 and then came back to 110 or 80, 90 before it ripped up to 350 or 400. Like, how would you predict that? Nobody would have predicted that, man. Like, there's so many untangible things about this squeeze situation. Like, nobody knows anything. I mean, we can take guesses, but that's it. I mean, we're all at the end of the day, we're just regular people too that are like, what's gonna happen? We're just talking about it, you know. It's crazy. There's no way to know. You're right on the money.
So yeah, I feel like it all depends on your individual situation too, and how much you placed on this. Hopefully, there's not too many people who put their entire retirement down, and it's literally a make or break deal for them. Because if you have a $100,000 portfolio and you put $2,000 in it, you know, it's kind of like whatever. I'll sit through it and just be part of the action. But if you put your entire $50,000 retirement in there, what is the answer? I would say the answer is focus on making some profit.
Yeah, right.
Focus on 100xing it, because like if you need that to retire, the question is completely different.
What I'm the most nervous about with this situation and what I don't want to happen is to scare away first-time investors. So I think about people on my channel and like just some of my classmates here out at where I'm at for the Army. They're first-time investors. Their first stock they've ever touched were AMC and GameStop. If they get burned by that, they will never ever come back to the market again. And for that to be like their first experience and to think that like I contributed to that or anybody contributed to that leaves a kind of bad taste in my mouth, you know. So whatever your personal situation is, whatever makes you happy, right? Take the profits. I mean, I'm not gonna get mad at you. It's gonna affect the squeeze, but I'm not gonna get mad at you. It's individual situations.
I think they're also in for a world of hurt when they realize that normal stocks move like 2% in a day and it's a nice day.
Yeah, right.
We're all talking about GameStop today and it's still up like what, 12, 13%, and we're all like upset about it.
That's what I got upset about. No, not that reason, but like I got upset that someone got in the live chat and was like, "You're just rationalizing. GameStop is over." And I'm like, "Are you kidding? Look at the regular stock market. This is like funky stock right now. Like you're rationalizing. You're the one that thinks that this is not a fantastic day for GameStop. Yeah, yesterday we were up 40%. Today we're up in single digits. What of it? Like we are perfectly fine where we are." So that's an important point to make, that like even if you had a huge opportunity cost of not being able to be as high as you were, that's just the endowment effect, baby. That's just your brain saying that what could have been and what you deserve. Expectation is the thief of joy. You don't deserve anything. We're just here to ride it up to the top, baby.
Yeah. I think a lot of people who speak negative in the chat, it's more of like the person just not invited to the party. They don't feel like they're on the in crowd. They didn't get that position early. And now that they're mad that it's a very fun community surrounding it. Like even outside of the world of the two stocks and making money on it, it's just fun. Like the due diligence, the comedy, the jokes, the memes, like it's a fun community to be on the inside of. And now I think like some people are just like salty on the outside that they're like, I don't know why. They're just on the outside and it obviously like upsets them.
Usually people hating, man, is just insecurities being projected on other people. So they feel bad about whatever their personal situation is and they push it on us because we're the people talking about it and it's easy, you know?
Definitely. Yeah. 100%.
You know what I think is be a good pivot point for this is we were talking about, you brought this up just now, Matt, that 2% is a good day for stocks in the market. And we've kind of gotten like swayed. Now we think this is normal. We're going to see stocks rip 100% or 150% in a day. I'm interested because I think the stock market after this is going to change fundamentally from what it was 5 years ago or even a year ago. I think Reddit, Discord, YouTube has legitimately changed the way in the game of the market. I don't think it's going to operate the same ever again from here. What do you think? Anybody?
Yeah, no, I personally agree with that. I think things like Robinhood, Webull, the accessibility, because before, even if you went back 30 years, like you had to call up your broker and you're like, I want to buy this. It got filled maybe that day, maybe a couple of days later. It was just slow. And now because of Robinhood, Webull, all these things, it's so fast. Anyone that has like connection to the internet, a phone, they could just buy and sell, and it's spreading throughout the world. As internet spreads, like I think it's going to pick up. Things are going to be so much faster. But that's my take on it.
Do you guys think that corporate earnings are just going to matter less and less? Because I mean, really, most people don't even look at earnings right now. Are we just going to see regularly companies with PDEs of 500 in the future, or do you think there's at some point that's going to even out a little bit?
I think perception is important because, like, well, first of all, it will still matter because enough people believe in it, kind of like the American dollar or kind of like just currency in general, right? That's why I always pull up the FINRA report, even though we know that there is going to be calculations that could be skewed, or maybe they'll change calculations. It doesn't matter what you think about what other people have established as truth, right? You have to understand exactly what other people care about, because at the end of the day, we are just guessing about the actual value of the stock. But before I forget Matt's question, this is the very first time, I think the four of us being in this room, we have, not to toot our horn, but like created a brand new like employment as stonk YouTuber. And this was the opportunity of GME and AMC being kingmakers in that sense. I just want to put that out there, that I think that's really cool. It's really nifty that, once again, it was cheesy, but it was true that we are all here together in one chat, toasting to each other, making friends, and actually like talking to this community of people. Can you imagine this happening before? People actually sitting down and wanting to watch a live stream, like 20,000 people at the same time wanting to watch a live stream. Combine everybody in our circle, and that's like 100,000 people on the like day by day, just watching live streams about stocks. This wouldn't have happened, one, without the pandemic and having extra time on people's hands, two, the like opportunity to be fully remote and then find financial freedom, and three, being able to have GameStop and AMC pique the interest of all these people who are, one, maybe just hungry for money, or two, hungry for like a different like way of living life. This is the very first time that our occupations exist, and these like fans of this occupation exist. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. Best job you could ask for, honestly.
It's pretty
sure
sick.
All of us in the evening, I'm sure, are just excited to get up in the morning and create some more content. And because we have, like you said, 100,000 people who are itching to see what we have to say the next day. It's absolutely insane.
You ever see that meme with Patrick waking up at 3 a.m. to eat a Krabby Patty?
Oh boy, 3 a.m.
Oh boy, 3 a.m. That's me every single morning when my alarm clock goes off. I'm not kidding you. I'm just like a kid getting up for Christmas. It's the best thing in the world. It's so fun. It's a blast.
Man, I think I get up early, and I'm on the East Coast. I don't know how. I don't know where you are at, Max, but I mean, I know Andrew and Trey here. Like, it's even earlier, and I'm like,
I mean, I've got work starting at anytime between 6 and 9, so I got to wake up a couple hours early to do my scans for day trades or swing trades or whatever it might be, and create the videos for the day. And yeah, it's fun though. I enjoy it. It's a blast. A lot of coffee and chewing tobacco. That's the trick. And cracking, baby. You got to crack the Kraken.
Crack the Kraken.
So I saw a little bit more about this amendment that was proposed about increasing shares. And there's some conflicting opinions about it potentially being a good thing. There's people who are saying that the vote is going to require a recall of shares and their owners, and that could potentially help AMC and solving what's going on with these missing shares, who owns them, synthetic shares, things like that. But there's also people saying, no, they don't have to do that. It doesn't matter. I haven't had enough time to dig in. Maybe you guys have some insight here as to what the true answer is.
What'll happen with the synthetic shares?
So they're saying in order for this AMC amendment vote to happen, they have to recall the shares, which is basically attributing each share to their owner and who owns them. And they're saying that'll filter out the fake shares that are potentially floating around or lost shares or, whatever situation. But there's also other people saying, nah, they don't have to do that. So, I'm not very well versed in how exactly that situation works.
I have strong opinions that I'm afraid might be partly wrong. So I want someone else to go, and then I will try to fill in the gaps.
Sounds like a big crapshoot to me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to err on the side of caution and say we don't know for sure. I'm going to say it's a rumor. It's a rumor they're going to recount. But if it does recount, I think it's in the best interest of the company because they can capitalize on that 100%. If there are synthetic shares on this IOUs circulating in the market that shouldn't be, which we kind of, are anticipating to begin with, and they can crack down on that. That doesn't fall on us, the retail investors or the institutional investors, unless the institutional investors backhandedly made that happen, in which case they still have to take care of it. It's not our problem. It's only going to help things because that shifts the supply and demand line. So if they recount and they find there's extra shares, those IOUs have to be replaced by physical shares in the market, which would come from sellers, which is us, right? So we would decide what they buy those shares at by driving down the supply. Demand goes insane, and that could honestly cause a squeeze, which sounds crazy to believe, but I think it's in the best interest of the company. And then they can raise capital on that. They could do a direct offering, like like they did before, raise another $700 million or even more. Who knows? But I think it's in the best interest for sure.
So I know there's probably some super smooth-brained apes, including me, out there in the chat right now. Also, have shout out to someone who just said we're the 4 hold men of the ape apocalypse. That's a good idea.
I love that.
But if you guys aren't aware of what a share recount would do, it is. I thought it was already set in stone, but it could be a rumor that this week. We are going to see an AMC recount, which means they're going to look at all of the counterfeit shorts that exist out there, also known as naked shorts. Whenever you want to sell a stock, usually you have to own it, right? So that's is where a short comes in. You can borrow it from someone and sell it right now. You don't have to have had it, and you still technically don't have it. You just gave it to someone else. But people who don't want to find someone to borrow it from can also just immediately sell it. That's what a counterfeit short is, or a naked short. Now, when they do this recount, they could find some recursive connections, such as I borrow it from you, I sell it, then I borrow it from that person that I sold it to, and then sell it again. So that it could mean that this one short belongs to multiple people, one share belongs to multiple people. That's still not what the purpose of a recount is for. Purpose of a recount is to make sure that whenever you have sold a share that doesn't exist, you haven't found an owner to borrow it from, that has to be covered immediately. And that has to be covered at market price. Whenever buy actions happen, the price of the stock will go up. And that is what we're hoping to as a catalyst for the share recount for AMC specifically.
So it could be like that bulldozer pushing the boulder down the hill, man.
Exactly. And it's someone who said I only talk about GME in the chat. There you go. That's an AMC math right there.
That's some smooth brain talk, man. I love it.
Drop.
And they're thinking that the recount could happen this week or next week?
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like it's potentially starting tomorrow, people are saying, through April 11th or something. I'm going off of posts that I just found right now. I haven't had the time to dig into this.
Andrew, some people in the chat are asking what a recount is. I know you're really well versed in this. Just walk it through in simple ape language for everybody out there who might not know.
All right. So as far as I'm aware, and suddenly I'm starting to realize that I both, one, do a lot of reading on DD, and two, maybe know not enough. So here is my understanding. A recount is specifically for the purpose of making sure that the shares that have been, it's kind of like if you guys use computer science language, you sometimes do things asynchronously. But that means that sometimes when I want to pull up a file, I might have to pretend like I have it first and then deal with it later. Right. That is how a computer works. And that is how sometimes your brain works. When your wife or your wife's boyfriend asks you for the phone number, you might give them the first 3 numbers and be like, I'll give you the rest later. I can't remember right now. Right. This is how a market works asynchronously. Sometimes you have to sell when you want to sell, even if you don't have a share and you haven't found someone to buy it from. The point of a recount is to specifically suss out these naked shorts and sometimes also naked options, right? You can also have a option where you pretend like you have a share for the person to have the option to buy later, but you actually haven't covered it yet. So that naked option exists out there as well. Having a recount allows us to figure out exactly where every single share is in accordance to whether or not it exists, first of all, and whether or not it belongs to multiple people. That one is going to force the naked shorts to cover immediately. And if that happens, then we might see a good amount of price action on that recounting.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but basically the share recount is there to determine who has the voting rights of that share, but there's the secondary effect of it potentially sussing out bad actors.
Right.
But with this, I was always under the assumption this is legitimately already illegal, isn't it?
So naked shorts are not illegal. And that's the fun part about how our system works. Remember how I talked about how the market has to work asynchronously? The institutions that get to make naked shorts, they somehow made it so that they had a logical argument that, hey, sometimes I need to sell a share, but I'm good for it, right? I'm good for it. I'll find the share that it belongs to later. And that is the whole point of it, right? Is that sometimes you do find it later and sometimes you don't. There is a lot of SEC regulation. I even covered it in like an extensive video on my channel where we just talk about when it is illegal to have a naked short and when it's not.
It can't have malicious intent. So if it's legal, there are legal naked shorting that happens where it's actually not affecting the market in a bad way. It's like, hey, I know that tomorrow I've got X amount of shares coming in. So if I spot these shares right now, I know that I'm going to get these shares back. So the collateral will be matched, right? So in that situation, it's not bad. But there are times when there's malicious intent with shorting where they're like, hey, I'm going to send this out and I'm going to pretend like I've got shares coming in and I'm just going to keep pushing this, even though I know I'm not going to be able to get these shares back. And I'm just having to create these synthetics and not backing it up. So that's when it becomes a problem, is when they can't actually match the naked shorts with that delay like Andrew was talking about.
Yeah, reason could be too, let's say a company is very highly shorted, I don't know, 50% short interest or something like that, and the cost to borrow is just going up and up and up. If you do a naked short, you're not paying any cost to borrow and you're betting on the decrease of a stock price that is potentially, right on the tipping point of going down if it's so highly shorted. So there's definitely incentives there to do a naked short.
Guys, people in the chat are saying that the short volume today on AMC was 31%.
Wow.
Holy Toledo. We're going to confirm this. I'm going to pull this up on Fintel really quick and just take a peek. So according to Fintel, we had 31% short volume today. 78.6 million of the total volume was short out of the 249 million. And there are currently 1.6 million total short shares available as of 6 hours ago. Short borrow fee rate sitting at 6.98%. And I'm going to update Ortex and take a look at the utilization. This morning was at 84%, still sitting at 84%. So I'm assuming that hasn't updated yet. But it does look like there were some shorts that did double down today and some that covered. So that short volume was insanely high. What are you guys' take on that?
That's great. The squeeze
dropped so much, right? The short borrow fee, that's almost halved.
I know. Yeah, it's and the reasoning for that, the short borrow fee is tied to a lot of things. It's tied to implied volatility and the chance of shorts coming out profitable. So when they dropped that stock down to $9 and some change or whatever it was, the risk for them, it dropped significantly because they were able to cover some of those guys probably profitably, which lowers that short borrow fee rate. Whereas that slow and steady climb that we saw, really healthy growth over the last like 3 or 4 days, where it ran up to $12 just about, that was really clean. There wasn't a lot of opportunities for shorts to come out profitable on that, which raises that short borrow fee rate because there's more risk involved with those trades. So that'd be my hypothesis, of course. Who knows for sure, but that's my take from what I've read.
Interesting. I like that.
I'm not super worried about the utilization. I think that some people are freaking out about that, the fact that it dropped from 100% to 84% utilization. But keep in the back of your mind, a utilization, which is the current lendable shares that are out being shorted at this moment, 84% is still insanely high. That's a lot of short shares, guys. I mean, 1.6 million seems like a big number of total short shares available, but when you consider that that's maybe like 15 to 20% of the total shares, that's nothing. I mean, that's not even considering the naked shorts that could be circulating in the market. So I'm not stressed about that. We're still playing the same game, and the market volume today, that short volume, tells you the whole story. 31% of the total market volume being short. I mean, geez, that's crazy.
For all three of you, I guess I think a lot of people listening would care about this. At what point would you think that we lost? Like, when's the white flag of like, hey, like we tried our hardest, but this is it? Like, what would be a telltale sign for you that you're like, it just didn't work out for us?
Ooh, what a loaded question.
That's a great question, because I was going to ask earlier, how many big wild swings are people going to be able to handle? Like, can people mentally handle GME going down to $40 again and then ride that back up? Like what's the point where people are like, I'm done with this emotional roller coaster? And I'm not sure what the answer is there.
So to keep things into perspective, remember when they started shorting. Remember when they wanted AMC and GME to go out of business, right? For GME specifically, it was sub $4. So this is the question of just logically. Some of you like Rubik's Cube, some of you like funny riddles. This is the question that is going to pique your interest. Why do you think you're going to lose if we go down a certain number of percentage points, right? If we go all the way back to 40, then we're right back to where we were for weeks. For GME specifically. For AMC, it's a very similar story. We were trading sideways for weeks and they didn't cover. We know this for a fact because we can see the FINRA report. We can see the amount of shorts that have yet to be covered. If they're just dragging their feet because they're stubborn, they're not going to change their mind just because we scared them. They're trying to scare us. It's a game of chicken right now where we have all the cards. They have to go all the way back to single digits in order for us to actually go all the way bankrupt. So you buy in right now at a couple $100s, right? I started this journey at 250. Like a couple of I had nothing to lose when we dropped down to 90%. Like what are they going to do? Take another 10% away from me? That's not. So I think that's the biggest point of the question of when do we lose, right? Can we lose even when we go back to where we were a couple of weeks ago, right? Because no, that's the answer is obviously we would have lost back then. We haven't lost yet. Can we lose if we go all the way back to $4? Maybe, but at that point, you'll be 99% down. What's the point of one percentage point, right? So that's the question you have to ask yourself. Will I lose? The chances and the math behind it are not very good that you will lose. But two, if you are worried that they're going to suddenly act smart and take a bigger L than they were willing to back in January trading sideways and February trading sideways, why do you think they're going to suddenly change their minds?
That's a good point, man. I mean, AMC and GameStop both consolidated for like 3 straight weeks. If they wanted to get out of that profitably, they could have done it. They had all the opportunity in the world, so why cover now? They're trying to they're playing the greed game. Fear and greed run the market, man. You're spot on the money. I personally think this is only going to be a dead cat. That's what I refer to it as at the channel here, dead cat land. But I don't think it's going to be a dead cat until the media stops covering this. When the media stops covering this, that's when you know it's game over because they have vested interest in these stocks. There's a reason there's so many hit pieces out there, and it's because they're trying to manipulate and scare the living piss out of people. And when that's over, that means that the game's over. Those hedge funds made their money, or they covered their losses, they made their cash. Whatever that happens, right? But we're not there yet. You continue to see this on the news. We're still playing the game. It's still a live ball.
Man, sorry, what's going on, Max?
Go ahead, Matt.
Well, I was going to say, actually, I feel like that's one of the most important metrics I care about. It's just literally Google Trends of what's going on over the past 2 months. Like it spiked, and that's what was so weird. It came down in week 3, end of February. I was like, man, like it seemed like just no one cared. People were getting tired, but we were even breaking important technical support. Like GameStop, I don't know, hit like 44, 43. Like it was not looking good. Mm-hmm. And I was like, so first of all, yes, I care a lot about those Google Trends, it being in news. I 100% agree with that. But I'm also curious, why did it pick up right away? Is it more back to what Andrew was saying of the shorts were just not winning, and of course they're paying a short borrow fee. They're bleeding money every day. This isn't going down. So they had to hit some sort of pain point a month later that it ended up shooting up again for both of these.
The longer a stock consolidates, the more bullish in nature. So when you think about when you buy into a security, right, and it's just volatile as it gets, I don't want to buy into a stock that's going up and down dollars at a time. Who knows if I'm going to time it right? So AMC and GameStop trading sideways for that long, and then like you were saying, the shorts not covering their positions. I think people were like, hold on a second. This has been trading sideways for literally 3 weeks now. What's the risk of me re-entering this for a possible upside if this is the actual floor? I think that's 100% spot on the money. Consolidation favors bulls. It's the most basic technical analysis thing that you can see as long as it's in a bullish fashion, right? You're not trading super bad technical setups, but that was a long consolidation, man. 3 weeks. Oh my god, it was just set up perfect.
It makes you wonder how long. We were all streaming when it was super hot right away at the end of January, and then it hit down in the pits, and the chat is just filled with people like, you guys are ignorant, you don't know what you're doing, these stocks are terrible. So it's how long do the stocks need to stay low before, like you said, the media attention, the Google Trends just dissipate away? Obviously, it can be down there for 3 weeks, but what is is it 5 weeks? Is it 6 weeks? At what point does it dissipate lower? And that's the question I wish I knew the answer to.
That's the crazy thing about trends, man. I mean, like, who's the origin of of a meme? Like sometimes things on the internet just happen because of one crazy coincidence, streak of luck, and timing. I mean, and honestly, that's what came down to with AMC and GameStop is some guy found DFV's, Reddit thread, and a person talked to person, and things just spiral. And sometimes, it's not the right answer. It's not fun to say, but there's things that we just can't quantify. There's no way to know for sure when that momentum dies or why it picked back up per se, and what that end game's going to be for interest. But the interest is 100% the most important thing, and I think that's why GameStop's ripping more than AMC is because there's just more interest in it. More people have their eyes on it. So once the interest is gone, once the media stops covering it, once it's not trending, game over.
What's crazy about that is I think that too, because it is in there. But then I'll do like polls on my Twitter and it'll get 2,000-3,000 responses, which I feel
I've seen those, man.
And AMC wins like every time. And I'm like,
you're not even a biased channel. You do both.
Yeah, like I'll talk about. I'm just in both. Like
right, yeah, exactly.
But the fact, I think it has a little bit to do with like per share, it's cheaper, so people are like, well, I could buy more, so if it squeezes, I'll make more. I think that has an aspect to do it with it. But I'm surprised day and day again that the interest is more so in AMC. And once again, everyone listening, we want them both to squeeze. Like it's not that. But I'm surprised that GameStop does have a better reaction. And to me, it's a little bit of like other hedgies, other Wall Streeters have something to do with that. Because like obviously they're overpowering retail money, because I think 2,000, 3,000 people on these channels is a great sample size for retail, like for people like us. Right. So it's interesting that AMC will have a nice 8% day, and then GameStop's having a 15% day, 16% day. Like that's what we've kind of seen this week so far. I mean, even today, AMC was a little bit red, and then GME was a little bit green. Like it's weird.
It is. And I think you hit something right there with the institutional investors. I think that's the difference. If I had to take a guess at it, and you guys let me know what clicks with your channel, but I covered GameStop in the beginning of this whole situation, and I covered AMC. My GameStop video, just basic metrics, got 1/10 of the interaction that my AMC video did. I just genuinely feel like the retail investor is more interested in AMC. And what that comes down to in my mind, now that I'm rationalizing it, you said it, Matt, I didn't honestly even think of this, is it probably just has heavier institutional stake. There's probably just more institutional buying coming in on that, since they do, control more of the liquidity going into stocks.
I think people understand AMC a little bit more too. They're like, okay, they're just going to open back up. They're going to start selling movie tickets. Bada bing, bada boom, we're good to go. Where GameStop, you're kind of betting on a technology play that they're trying to transition into. Sure, they very well might be able to do it, but it's less readily understandable opposed to opening back up in business, sell movie ticket, sell popcorn. It's very understandable on AMC. And the share price is 1/10 or a 40th of what GameStop is, so it's easier to buy. There's a psychological thing where if a share price is $10, it seems cheaper than the share price of $100. And I think that comes into play too, especially for people who are like, this is my first stock. This one's only $10. That's cheap,
It makes me so mad too when people are like, it's too rich for my blood. GME, that's too expensive. I'm like, you think that's the price of the stock, or you can buy a fraction of shares?
That would make life a lot easier if there was just every company had the same number of shares, and then you could just tell value based on share price.
You just walk down the aisle and be like, oh, I want 2 AMCs, I want a GME.
I think what's attractive for some investors, though, is we're not every retail investor is out there playing with thousands of dollars. Sometimes there's people who legitimately play with $50 or $100. And for them to say, I'm going to own 1/4 or a half of a GameStop share, maybe that just doesn't hit home for them. They'd rather hold 5 or 6 or 7 shares of AMC. And that makes them feel like they're more of a part of the cause, and like there's more potential upside, because, at the end of the day, a share is a share, right? It's only worth that you're still buying one share for whatever that dollar sign is. So GameStop is more expensive. And if AMC has the true potential for a squeeze like GameStop does, I don't think it'll happen at the same time. I think it'll be one and then the other, and then one, just back and forth here. But if that does come to fruition and AMC does end up doing that squeeze to the full potential, you're going to have that same amount of upside, but you're paying less for it.
And I think at the end of the day, too, if one squeezes, the other's probably going to squeeze, or at least see some very positive results as a result of the other one. Maybe one will go up 200%, the other will go up 100%. No matter what, if one sees a big win, you're probably going to win with the other.
I mean, we saw that the last time back in early January, I think it was, right? Is that how long it's been now? Since that last little mini squeeze that we got, they both ran at the same time. They were mirroring each other. And I think you're pretty likely to see the same thing happen again. Maybe not to the same degree. They have diverged a little bit, so that's interesting. I don't know.
I have like no solid reasoning for this. I just feel I'm so giddy for the remainder of this week and next week. Like, and it might be after that. So I don't want anyone quoting me on it, but I just like with the movement lately, it's been picking up. We know these are volatile. People are watching it day in and day out. If I had to bet money on when it's going to happen, I would bet this week, next week. Of course, it could happen whenever. Like, we don't know. We're just guessing. But like every day I wake up, like today, I thought today was the day. Like when it was moving, the volume coming in. And then my jaw hit the ground faster than those stocks did at like 12:50. I was like, what is going on? Like, I'm watching my account values, like the Robinhood account, the live stream saw it. It went from up 9K today to up $100. Like, and that was just the one I was like, what is going on? Like,
I know, man.
And I don't know. So I think the more insane turbulence we're seeing, whoever was saying turbulence before, that's a great word. I think that's indicative of us being closer to the end of like this saga of how it's going to go. Obviously I'm bullish. I want it to go up. No one has a crystal ball here, but man, like, I think there's just signs like something has to be like every day. I'm just so stoked to get ready for it. And if it doesn't happen by Friday, I just sit there all weekend waiting. I'm like, all right.
Oh man. I know.
They put Matt in a corner and they reactivated him on Monday.
Sit there and like shit post on Twitter because I'm so bored. I'm like, open the markets, like let us do something.
Yeah, that's when you just watch cryptocurrency, even if you're not in it, just watching the charts or something to make you feel alive again.
Stay warm.
Exactly. Right. That's gold.
Now, someone just did a super chat of an SEC report on how votes are counted.
Oh yeah, I'll pull it up really quick. By the way, thank you to everyone that has dropped the super chat. I see you guys. I see you. We're just having these bomb conversations, dropping some bars, having some straight up guerrilla talk. You know what it is. We're gonna pull up this SEC report. I'll just share my screen really quick. So let me just copy this and paste it. All right. Make sure this is the right screen. I always do this wrong. All right. How AMC shares are counted. We've got votes counted. I probably scrolled right over it, honestly. How do you search in a tab? I know there's a specific button you can press. What's that keyboard? Control F. Yeah, I knew that. I'm just playing. Just
making conversation.
There we go. Shares counted.
Matt, are you in a bunker right now?
No, the way it is, it's like the way it's my normal stream setup, and like the camera on Restream Studio, I guess, uses my Brio for like a larger thing. So
oh, that makes sense. I've never seen so much of your space.
Yeah, it's messed up.
So share counting. This is what I've got pulled up. Awards that are required to be paid in cash pursuant to their terms do not reduce the share reserve. To that extent that an award granted of the EIP is canceled, expired, forfeited, surrendered, settled by delivery of fewer shares than the number underlying the award, or otherwise terminated without delivery of the shares to the participant, the shares of common stock retained by or returned to the company become available for future awards under the EIP. In addition, shares that are withheld in payment of taxes relating to such an award become available for future awards. I don't know if this is what we're looking for, but that's what popped up here.
Oh, that's the same document I had.
Oh, there we go. Let's see. Man, this thing is thick. What a thick document. Yeah. Jesus.
Thick.
Like 4 keys in there. Honestly, I feel like when I initially popped this up, it brought me right to it, and I just clicked right over it. So what I'm going to do here is just go straight to it, and it was probably just in the right spot. No, maybe not. Dude, it's going to take me a while to sift through this. I'm going to be honest. If you guys want to hold a conversation, I'll find it.
Well, I do have to say, Andrew's very close to his goal of subscribers and me having to spend money.
What are you at, man?
We are 74 subscribers away from 45,000.
Oh, wow.
That's insane, man. You're blowing up, dude. That's money.
If you want to be the last 69 subs to get in, so that I'm looking at 5,000 more of you on this 10,000 people live stream to get onto the Moon Platoon. We had a big poll earlier. It was like Mo Monkeys or Moguls, or we got Momentum Makers. We got Morangutans. I think the population of the group has decided on Moon Platoon. But if individual member of the Moon Platoon is a Mo Monkey or a Mo Mafia member.
I like Mo Mafia. That sounds
Mo
cool.
Mafia is pretty dope.
I like them
Also
all.
Monkey though. I mean Monkey, we've got the Space Apes, we've got the Gorilla Gang, Mo Monkey. You'd have the triad, and then we've got the Neanderthals, and Neanderthals are kind of like monkeys, so that works out, you know.
Perfect. It's kind of like the evolution.
Exactly.
You get a space ape, then you get a gorilla, and then you get into the Neanderthals.
With the obviously Andrew, shout out, like you're growing so rapidly. That's so exciting.
Oh, thanks.
I just think about all these other, I guess let's call it more buttoned up, serious stock shows. Like this has to piss them off to no end. Like they just have to be so angry of just all these even all these names and this stuff, playing into it, having a good time, and they just they have to give out. There's no way they don't know about us at this point now.
Dude, I've literally had people come over to my live stream and be like, so-and-so on their YouTube channel was trash talking you, and so-and-so on their YouTube channel was the AMC thing. You only got big because of AMC. It's like, man, I don't know what you want me to tell you. It's like, I don't know why we should be upset about this. It's spot on the money, man. It's crazy.
They're just
Trey's like, sorry, I'm so successful.
Whatever, man.
So you're telling me you had the same opportunity and didn't capitalize?
Yeah, crazy, dude.
Right now, what? I don't even know what it was. One of the live streams, more of a serious one, and they actually are. What's funny, man, I don't know their name, but whatever it was, whatever the chair thing on my live stream has gotten out of hand. And they were talking about that on another live stream, a very serious one. They're like, we don't talk about chairs. And I'm like, dude, calm down.
Jeez.
It's going to be okay.
It's not that serious. Yeah.
What is that? A shirt with a duck on it? That's really my life.
No scissors in the chat. No scissors in the chat. Not allowed.
I want to see only words, no emojis whatsoever.
Yeah, I was on Matt's live stream and they demanded to see my chair.
What the?
They made memes about it later. I don't know. They try to. Well, you said you're not on Twitter, right, Max? You don't.
I am. I just started using it again.
Okay, so I think they tagged. You must have missed it. They they edited a duck onto your chair.
That's gold.
I was like, this is so out of hand.
Have you seen this picture of Trey? So it was on Uncle Bruce's.
No, don't do me like that. Don't do me like that.
No. It's just your logo, but they found
okay.
a cartoon of me on my Patreon, and then they found your logo, which is a cartoon, and they just kind of went not every hero wears capes, and it's Uncle Bruce over here and me, and I'm like, how? I've never even talked to Uncle Bruce before, so how am I involved in here? And they had a deep effing value on the fourth corner, so that was Uncle Bruce, Trey,
Wow.
me, and DFE.
That's crazy,
That's a high compliment.
man.
And I was like, that's weird. That's very weird, but that's very. I don't know how to feel about it.
In general, I'm sure we've all seen some of the amazing artists in this group. I mean, I've seen some of the people giving you your stuff, Trey. They're every single day I see something, and so funny, creative, artistically inclined, and I'm like, it's actually jealousy. I'm like, wow, I wish I could do that.
Same.
So
There's so many crazy talented people out there. The artwork, my literal profile picture for my YouTube was made by a sub, and I was like, I was literally jumping up and down, pooping my pants. That thing was so cool. I couldn't believe that was made, and then they took the time to make it. It's wow. It's hard not to be grateful, and I'm sure you guys all feel the same way, because you guys have your own unique culture and community, and it's just unexplainable. It's crazy. It's insane. That got sent to you?
that's crazy.
Dude.
That is awesome.
You got me beat, man. That's crazy.
Wait, today?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
That is
Get this.
awesome.
Somebody made me custom made whiskey glasses with a Not a Dead Cat logo on there, with a Gorilla Gang on there, etched by hand. Crazy.
Oh, I should. Okay, fine. I will shout out something. So this is a crafted dog bowl for Meatball.
Oh, sick.
Shout out to this group right here. 2 dogs and a bottle of whiskey. This is like a real, he's like, make sure to use these care instructions, don't use a dishwasher. And I'm like, I've never had something so carefully thought out before. This is event. You guys are so cool. Oh my goodness.
Do you guys do a PO box, or are you like legitimately just giving out your address? Like, how do you do that?
Well, this was my office address.
I've got a PO box. I'm living in a hotel right now, so I'm not that worried.
All right, I'm like, here we go. I do the one wrong thing, and people have my actual address. I'm like, this could go south.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you don't want to give that out.
Just outside and you're like, what's the squeeze date, man?
What is it?
I'm really not finding the share count thing. I think I scrolled through this whole thing. I've just kind of been scrubbing it. But honestly, I don't know what I was thinking. I can barely see anyways. It probably wasn't at the job for me. My eyes are still pretty messed up. But if you guys have any luck, you let me know. But I can't find that in this like 50-page document.
Someone said page 5, but take that with a grain of salt.
Page 5. You know,
Yeah.
We'll give that a
That
whirl.
was a random comment. So
Page 5. All right, we'll scroll down and take a peek. A peeky weeky. Somebody really digs when I say that for some reason.
I said Jesus queezes today.
Jesus queezes. That's good.
And I didn't even realize I said it until people started posting it in the chat. And I'm like, uh-oh, did I say that?
Right. All right, I've got how votes are counted. I'm guessing this is related. So I'll share my screen really quick. So a quorum is required to transact business at our annual meeting. Stockholders of record holding shares of common stock constituting a majority of the shares issued and outstanding and entitled to vote at the annual meeting shall constitute a quorum. If you have returned valid proxy instructions or attend the meeting in person, your shares will be counted for the purpose of determining whether there is a quorum, even if you abstain from voting on some or all matters introduced at the meeting. As of the close of business on March 3rd, 2021, the latest practicable date before the filing of this proxy statement, there were 450,156,000 shares of common stock issued and outstanding, held by 1,513 holders of record. Whoa. Thus, the holders of at least 225 million shares of common stock must be present in person or represented by proxy at the annual meeting to constitute a quorum. So if you were to do quick math there, what does that come out to? 450 million minus 225 million. I was never math. I think that's just 225 million. Oh, that was a dumb thing to say. Anyways, abstentions would be treated as shares present and entitled to vote for purposes of any matter requiring the affirmative vote of a majority or other proportion of the shares presented and entitled to vote. You guys feel free to interrupt me at any point if you want to say something as well. Accordingly, abstentions will be considered as represented for purposes of determining a quorum. Abstentions with respect to proposals 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6 will have the same effect as a vote against such proposals. Because a plurality of the votes cast is required for proposal 2, abstentions and withheld votes will have no effect on such proposal. Under rules of the New York Stock Exchange, brokers may not vote on non-routine proposals. Trying to scrub through this. I think that first paragraph is probably the most significant piece of this. So what's your guys' take on that?
I mean, whatever the reason to actually do this call is, AMC is getting on the case of what we've been trying to get GME to do for a long time, right? Because this share recount, like we had the hotline that had a full inbox, it had the website, investor relations. Like we wanted this to happen since the beginning of my YouTube career of talking about GME, and that never happened. But finally, AMC is getting around to it. I think it's mainly because they're picking up like what is happening. And they're actually trying to say that we're listening, right? And so I think that the minor effect of it sussing out all of these malicious bad actors in the pool of actual shares is the actual effect that we're looking at. I noticed that we're having some actual cool lens flare happening on my camera here. One second.
Yeah.
Very artistic.
Yes,
That's artistic AF, man.
Yeah, it was raining earlier in your background, Andrew, and it looked pretty cool.
It was hailing. That was the first time I've ever seen hail in the Bay Area. Wow. It was insane.
You're in paradise. I'm in a war bunker fighting off these hedgies. Come on, Andy. we need you to be serious about this.
Matt, dude, this is random as heck, but I'm just dropping your link on this live stream right now from your channel, and you grow a pretty nice little chin strap. That's not bad. That's not bad. I just want to point that out.
Where is it?
Your pictures on your thumbnails. You can grow a pretty good beard.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. It's not good. If you guys saw me in real life, you'd be like, I feel bad for him.
No, man. It looks. I mean, editing goes a long ways, but I would think it's good. I think it's good.
It's all about that shadow.
Oh yeah, big time, man. I mean, that's a dude thing. That's a dude thing. Trying to find the exact right lighting so your beard looks as good as it possibly can. Unless you're stock Jesus over here, then you're fine. But
it looks like Andrew hit his goal, 45,000.
Oh yeah.
Get ready, get that bio.
Get those fireworks going.
there it is, man.
Nice.
Of AMC in the morning.
Dude, we were talking about this before we started this call, but the rate at which you've been growing, Andrew, is freaking stupid insane. That's nuts. Like, like, what did you say? How long did it take you to get to 1,000 subs?
So
Max?
it took me. Max?
Yeah, we'll go back to you. I just wanted to compare.
It took me a year to get 3,000 subs, and it took me 2 years to get 180,000 or whatever.
That's crazy. And you had 1,000 how fast?
I took a long time as well. In the beginning, all of the content was somewhere between like parody content of like tech, of like living in the tech Silicon Valley bubble to like actual data scientist education stuff. So I started on Father's Day. It's easy to remember. It's like Daddy's Day, right? So Data Day 2020. And then I ran past like 2,000 subscribers at the end of like 2020. So I didn't get to 5,000 subscribers until I actually started talking about GME and AMC.
Man, that's nuts. How long ago did you start your channel, Matt?
As of 2 days ago, it's been a year.
Hey, happy birthday.
Cowabunga it is, man.
We're a year old, and I'm trying to think for the 1,000 subscribers, March, April, May, June, July. It took me 5 months to hit 1,000. And then it took me, I don't know, like remember that the requirement for 4,000 watch hours, that took me even way longer. Like I was just sitting there like, I was
dude,
I thought the 1,000 was going to be the tough goal. And then I'm doing math. I'm like, all right, if I post like 1,000 videos, I should be good. Like,
the watch hours was way harder for sure.
It took me 6 months just to get that watch hour.
Yeah, so tough. But obviously, I think the four of us really, really benefited from just this craziness. Like, I mean, I was arbitrarily streaming the day the Wall Street Bets Reddit got shut down. Like, I was just talking about Tesla and Apple's earnings announcement. Like, it was that same Wednesday, and everyone's in chat like, oh, Wall Street Bets shut down. I was like, no way can they do that. I'm like, oh yes, they can. Like,
dang.
Wow, right time, right place.
Yeah, and I mean, kind of back what Trey's dad was saying, like a lot of times it's just like luck and timing, and that's what it was.
Speaking of which, Matt, my origin story for where my channel had a big break was essentially tied, tethered to yours. You were covering that FINRA report, and then you were like streaming all day. So we were like, okay, I'm going to go to sleep. And I started covering that FINRA report, and essentially everybody was like, who's the last YouTuber still looking for that FINRA report? And that was the day I got like a ridiculous growth. So if you kept looking for the FINRA report, there would have been no chance I would have gotten my break.
Yeah, I mean, it works so like I feel like in the mornings it goes a lot of like Trey, you're up early, and then from yours it goes
people transition,
and then from ours it goes back to Andrew. Like we're just
right.
like our like stream cycle here. I saw the other day. So like I was legitimately just sitting here and someone knocked on my door. They're like, you have a gas leak outside. You got to fix this. I was like, oh, okay, like whatever. And then I think they just all went over to yours, Andrew. They were just talking about the gas leak, and I like
the gas leak. Yeah. Matt's been gas leak. I'm like, is he okay? Nobody's telling me if he's okay. So I was like texting him. I was like, Matt, you're gas leak. I hope you're okay. And at the end of the day, I was like, that is also again advantageous because the way that people stream all day, like you should just leave it on the TV or leave it on the background. And so a lot of people, like we just proved it, right? We had 8,000 people watching the AMC earnings call. And when I said everyone were gone, I turned off the live stream. There's still like 500 people still there, right? Either on the toilet or now they're just a cat watching the screen, right? So one of those two options.
YouTube doesn't care.
Yeah.
Nah, it's all the same. It's all the same.
I was always a little bit surprised. So I just found out on Twitch that they can push ads like while you're watching it, and we do an ad. So I stream for 7 hours, and I get a 5-second ad at the start, and that's it. I'm like, YouTube, dude.
Yeah, what are you guys doing?
It's so dumb.
Yeah, What's nice about YouTube though is it's just way more accessible. Like you can branch out so easily, and that's why it's the king. Like I think they're dominating the streaming sector, like just easily. You're seeing this big transition. Like the one that gives I think of right off the bat is Ice Poseidon, and he had a little bit of an issue with Twitch to begin with, but he went from Twitch over to YouTube. Instantly he's got like 750,000 subs right now. Just nuts, like huge. And I think there's just a lot of opportunity there for sure.
Wow. I mean, just from the, like, it's hard to get big on Twitch from my understanding. I've never been on Twitch. I've never streamed it there once, but everything I've heard, it's like, I mean, it's hard enough to grow on YouTube, and it's like, I guess even way harder to grow on Twitch.
It's so hard because people go and say like, "Oh, Matt, you've been streaming for 7 hours. That's like a huge amount of time." People go to me and say 7 hours is a huge amount of time. People are on Twitch like nonstop, and it's really tiring at that. And only 0 to 1 people watch. That's like the majority of the people on Twitch. So I've been trying on Twitch. It's like not rewarding. One, they don't keep the videos like YouTube. They're like, oh, you want to clip this because we're not going to want to save all this information here because we have a completely different like model and it's too expensive or whatever excuse they give. So it's not only like more cumbersome, it's not even like good money compared to YouTube.
Interesting.
So weird. You've tried streaming, Andrew?
I stream only Dungeons and Dragons on Twitch. I've actually started getting worried about online personas, so I've unlisted all of my D&D campaigns. Because I'm like, what if I said something bad or my accent is offensive or something?
You should try some of the stock stuff and see if it like gets traction in the world of Twitch. Like, can you do like a dual stream, like both at one time, or is that like a no?
Ooh, so OBS would be.
I feel like I've seen people do that, but it's definitely not stock YouTubers. I think it's like the comedy parody sort of guys that do like the pranks or whatever. I think I've seen channels do that before. Either that or they're taking their Twitch streams and then uploading them up onto YouTube. So I'm not quite sure how they're double dipping there, but I know they do it.
That makes more sense. Interesting.
I had a dream. So I'm a big original fan of Jack's films, just like one of these OG YouTubers. And he recently moved on to Twitch, and now on Twitch he does like a game show. And I'm like, dude, that would be a dream come true because I love trivia. I love engaging with like audience members. If I could have a game show, that would be sick.
Dude, you've got the personality for it, big time. Money.
We should do it, man. Hop in. I'd watch it.
There we go. But we'll be like, anybody, Matt, come on down to the show one more time. Come on.
I'll be on your game show.
That's what friendship's all about. This is what makes me so happy.
Dude, I'm all for it. We just need to have the 4 horsemen. We can start our own game show. Oh, it's our own stock show. Yeah, it's just four screens, live streaming at the same time in the same room or something.
Yeah. All of us making wild bets on stocks.
Yeah, right.
Well, you guys know Graham Stephan, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you aren't aware, Graham Stephan is like this, I think the king of YouTube finance right now. He's like this guy who makes like $1 million a week on YouTube. And what a bunch of finance YouTubers try to do, and these people are like not live streamers. They just like put a ton of effort into these videos, and they put out a finance tutorial on some topic, right? They try to do like a game show for getting Graham Stephan on a cameo. And at that point, I was like a larger YouTuber out of all of them, but I definitely didn't fit in because I was much more of a data science channel. So at that point, I was like 2,000 subs. Everyone else was hovering around like somewhere between maybe 100 subs to like 1,500 subs. And at that point, it was like, maybe this will be a good game show. Maybe this will like actually blow up. At that point in time, I was still like wondering whether or not data science or finance was the right path. So that was back in like December or January. So the time passes way too quickly. So I'm trying to say.
It's crazy to believe that Meet Kevin was what was he at? You said I think it was Max told me he was at like 250,000 a year ago.
Something like that, yeah.
Crazy.
Much smaller.
Dominated. Like he's kind of the first guy talking about finance that also live streams, and he kills it. Like he's the king of market open, market close, of the stimulus stuff. Like he is never entering energy. Like he's doing everything all the time. And it's like I've watched Max, Graham, and Andre and Jeremy. Like I feel like we're the 4 new guys of that because they have Graham Stephan, Andre Jick, financial education, and whoever else, Andre, there's 4. And
Right.
I feel like the new age of those guys. But meet Kevin, his schedule, I just don't get his schedule. And also beyond that, I mean, when I was watching him literally a year ago right now, his bets blew my mind. I mean, my live stream sees me do crazy bets, and he's buying it at the bottom. Like, he timed it so perfectly on
Margin
like,
Tesla.
And I'm just like, what?
Didn't he leverage Tesla like 3-to-1 or something? Like, he refinances houses and put all that liquidity into Tesla and all these different stocks when the market dipped like that. I'm pretty sure he did back in March.
He did something huge. It was a huge bet, and he like timed it perfectly. And like,
Man.
even more recently, he was talking about how he like was about to buy Tesla even more on this, like the recent drop to like whatever we just had like the other day. And I'm like, he just doesn't seem to get it wrong. It's crazy.
Yeah, man, the dude's a grinder. He puts out, go check out how many videos he puts out a day. Between his live streams and his videos, I think he legitimately uploads 5 to 8 times a day. It's nuts. It's insane. I don't know how he does it.
It's a different kind of business strategy. It's basically like, I am YouTube. You don't have to subscribe to anyone else. Yeah, the
right.
volume at which I put out videos, you will be able to see everything. And at that point, like, I was trying to subscribe to just learn more. And when I subscribed to Meet Kevin, I had to unsubscribe during that day because I'm like, there's way too much content. Like, I'm gonna not be able to see everybody else's content. So I'm always worried. I'm always, because people, when they compare me to Meet Kevin, I'm like, my first reaction to Meet Kevin was unsubscribing. So I really hope I'm not that much like Meet Kevin when it comes to content quantity.
I think I borderline on like a miniature Meet Kevin sometimes.
Dude, you grind. It's crazy. You put out a lot of content. Guys, you got to hear this. The Z-Man727 says, new name, Quad Effing Value. That's gold. That's gold. That's got to stick. That's got to stick.
Love that.
Heck yeah. QFV. Wall Street Bets, the game show. That's some good stuff.
When you put our initials together, that just makes another Matt. Actually, Matt.
Yeah, it does. How about that? I didn't even think of that. Yeah. All right. Guys, we've been going for about 2 hours and 15 minutes here. My girlfriend FaceTimed me about an hour ago. She's probably a little annoyed that I haven't got back to her yet. So we probably wrap this up. Are there any last things? We'll kind of go around the room here, seeing the last things we have about AMC, GameStop, the earnings call, the squeeze potential, whatever you guys have for last words. Definitely let them rip and let everybody know what you think. Also, if you haven't already, drop a like on the video for the YouTube algorithm. Do it for the gorillas, the apes, the Neandernauts, and the Mo Monkeys.
I do have to say I'm pretty close to having to spend another $1,000 on AMC.
Yeah, man.
450 subscribers away. So if you want to see me spend money, there you go. If not, that's fine too. I'll save the $1,000.
Make it happen, guys. Make it happen. We need to piss this guy dry of all of his cash. I'll go to AMC.
Oh man, I'll go last. Matt, you can go first.
I mean, overall, the AMC, I'm going to copy a little bit of Max what's about to say here of just like, I didn't put that much weight on the earnings, but overall, what I'm seeing in AMC and GME, I wake up giddy every morning because it seems like we're getting closer and closer to the squeeze. So my big message, everyone, we're diamond handing it. And obviously, if you want information of what's going on, check out any of these 4 channels. Like between the 4 of us, the content could fill a library. So if you guys want to know what's going on, check it out. But I'm feeling pretty good about what's going on with AMC and GME.
First things first, agree with all of these beautiful people on the stream right now, as well as those of you who are currently watching. I'm reading your chats. You guys seem pretty cool. One of the first things is thank you, Trey, for having us, right? This is the first of its kind meeting. The Stonk Symposium. People have been talking about it on all of our live chats for a while, and it happened, right? This is Foursquare right here. Really happy that happened. The second thing is, if you guys are waking up as excited as Matt or Max or Trey each morning, just know that it's because your inclination is correct. The squeeze is right around the corner. And if you don't want to blink and miss it, that subscribe button for each of our 4 channels is right there. Any of them is good, right? A rising tide raises all ships, and finance YouTuber space is just going to get bigger and bigger. Finally, if you guys want to be able to understand what the end game, the Quad Witching Day DD writer wants to say about what happened yesterday, what happened earlier today, and it's going to likely happen during the Gamma Squeeze for tomorrow. I will be having Hey It's Pixel, also known as just Josh, the 21-year-old German lawyer who wrote all of the DD about GME, on my show tomorrow at 9 a.m., maybe a little earlier, but 9 a.m. PST. That's going to be noon EST. Right. So if you guys want to come over there and check it out, I will need to buy some AMC and GME as well. So make me spend money as well and get me up to 50K.
Money, man. So to double down on everything that you guys have said, obviously it is so freaking cool to have you guys on the podcast, on the channel. We're going to have to do this at all of our YouTube channels. And honestly, I don't know if you guys have seen that YouTube channel that was created by Meet Kevin, Graham Stephan, Andre, and Jeremy. They created essentially like a once a week podcast channel. I kind of sense maybe a possible business ship going on here down the road. Be a lot of fun. Anyways, just throwing that on the radar. That'd be worth talking about. Anyways, guys, you can't get better than the four guys that we have in this four square going on right now. We all do our best that we can to provide you guys real content, good energy, right? A lot of fun, entertainment, but most importantly, relevant information and affirmation to the cause, right? So if you're along with the journey, right, all three of these dudes here in this room are going to take you where you need to go. Keep riding with them. Push that subscribe button, push that like button. Make sure you're tuning in for their live stream because these are some pretty cool freaking apes. So I'm glad to have you guys on. We're going to do this again for sure, guys.
I got one more announcement. Trey has a charity live stream on Saturday, so everyone in here needs to make sure to tune into that.
Shoot, yeah, I haven't even announced that yet. Okay, so I put out an announcement on my community post. I did on the community,
okay,
yeah. I haven't mentioned it in a video yet. I haven't mentioned it in a video. So Saturday, I'm going to be doing an all-day live stream. I'm going to start at 9 a.m. CST, and I'm going to be going until 5 p.m. CST, and I'm going to bring on various other people. We're just going to talk stocks, business, entrepreneurship, investing, finance, whatever it may be. And all the super chats and donations that are sent to that live stream, I will be sending to Wounded Warriors Project, which I personally send money to. My father was in the military for 24 years, amputee, had his back blown up really bad, and I've got a lot of good sentiment for the military. As you guys know, I am an active duty officer, so I'm going to be sending all the money from you guys from those super chats to the Wounded Warriors Project, and for every $1,000 I will match with my own money $100 total. So if you want to contribute to that, we are going to bring some people onto that. I'm going to talk with Max, I'm going to talk with Matt, Andrew, Mo Money, all these guys. If you're interested in stopping by, we're going to be there all day Saturday. So if you want to hop in, that's definitely there.
Wow, getting on the ground floor, that's awesome.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm stoked.
Rock on, guys. Too easy.
All right, have a good one, everyone.
Yeah, thanks guys for tuning in. That's all we have for you today. Take it easy, my friends, and peace.
Peace.
Ending the stream is always the most awkward part. There we go.